I did not. Me tonight?
Could run the meeting.
It'd be my pleasure.
Careful what you offer.
Just for tonight. Thank you. Good evening and welcome to the Select Board regular session for Monday, April 27th. We are being recorded. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Alrighty. Just to note, the agenda does say that the Water Sewer Infrastructure Advisory Committee will be joint meeting with us, but we're not sure they're going to have a quorum, so we are just going to hear from the chair and vice chair.
Yes.
So that is why I did not announce that at the top of the meeting. But we will start with the town administrator's report, please.
Good evening. Thank you. So I just wanted to give an update. One of the requests that's been made from the board that I've worked with both chiefs on, and I will begin this Friday, is some sort of weekly stats on police and fire, number of calls, responses, that type of thing, so that you as a board will see it. I think rather than running it down in this meeting, I can send it as sort of a Friday update to you and future members so that folks will have the information that they might be interested in. An update I wanted to give is that we have been working with DOR. We are going to have the Department of Revenue at the state level. We're going to have a municipal finance fellow this summer, which is a program where local college and community college students go through an intensive 5-week training in addition to their academic training with DOR, and then spend about 7 weeks with us working on projects that we will identify. This individual will work directly with Patrick and Liam, and we're looking forward to having this resource, and it's also an opportunity over time to begin to build a network of folks that might be able to take on some of the entry-level positions on our finance team in the future. So we're very excited that DOR reached out to us, and it is a free resource to us, but also the individual is paid by the state, so it gives us, again, another set of capable hands, and we're looking forward to that individual joining us. When they do come on board, we'll introduce them to the full board. I wanted to give a brief update. There's been questions from board members and others about the I&I policy. I've continued to have a number of discussions with proponents of projects in town that had questions about both the application of it, the multiplier, and we are currently reviewing a project at the Swampscott Mall to understand some of the work that has been done and whether it would fit under the waiver process. I think the policy that we have is pretty clear on where we stand. I've spoken to the proponent a few times, spoke to him this afternoon. He understands where we are, but we are reviewing some engineering information that they provided to our town engineer, DPW director, and we'll continue that conversation, but I wanted to make sure folks knew where it was in case it does come before the board in the future as well. Finally, I just wanted to highlight, and I know we'll be talking about this a little bit later, you all have a draft of the lease for the Hawthorne property. We had an outstanding question on liquor liability. I was away last week, and we did not get that answer until today, so the proponents have the lease. They have not yet signed it, but what you have in front of you includes the term, includes all the all the liability insurance that we're requesting of them, and has answered all of the outstanding questions that our attorneys had from our side, certainly. And so we're looking forward to having a discussion with you all tonight about that, and also continuing to move forward. And then finally, knowing that it's Doug and David's last meeting, I just wanted to personally say thank you for the last 6 months. I'm probably the first of many that will say things like this tonight, but this is my chance. Thank you both for helping me get my feet under me here, and certainly helping me to get a lay of the land in town. So thank you both. I've appreciated working with you for the last 6 months. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions? Mary Ellen? Good?
Anything on the Fisherman's Beach study?
I do not have anything for you right now. I had asked Gino for an update, and we have Kleinfelder, who had been out there last week, to make sure that the work that had been done was completed and up to snuff, and we will obviously be doing testing at the beach this summer so that we know the water quality is where it needs to be as well. But Kleinfelder was there last week.
Right, but I'm not asking about the water quality.
Okay.
I'm asking about the study that was investigating ways to address sea level rise and the whole kind of management of that area that we engaged with them on quite a while ago, and they gave us some interim report quite a while ago, and I think we're well past time when it was supposed to be finished. So sorry if I was not clear in my request of you, because I was a little bit kind of wondering why you were going to Gino, because I thought it was actually a Marzi thing, but.
Is that the updated report?
Well, we had engaged them to do another study,
Right.
right? Of like, should we build higher seawalls? Should we be doing something around the fish house? Like, what are all the ways in which we're actually going to take determined, managed retreat, yada, 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 right? So that's been outstanding for a while.
That was a couple of years, right?
I don't think it's quite that long, but it's been a while, so.
So I can commit to coming back with Marzi. I know there'll be new membership, but
Yep.
if you tune in, I'm happy to provide that update at the next meeting, and we'll make sure it's on the agenda. I apologize. I thought you were looking at the water quality, not the sea level rise.
Anything else? I'll call you with the info.
I'll be waiting.
What, did you have any other follow-ups? Because you had sent did we get everywhere else, or not yet?
Yeah, I think we'll pick up other things as we
Okay.
go along.
Okay. David? You're good.
Nothing else.
Okay, I have received, just to say it, Nick, I know you and I briefly talked before this evening, I have received the feedback from the current board members on the town administrator's 6-month evaluation. I will be compiling it, and I will be back sometime in May to discuss publicly the compilation of all that. But it will be considered completed by this board, although there'll be 2 members here who will hear what y'all have thought.
Great.
Okay, so let's move on to public comment, please. I have one public comment that I would like to read, but if there's comment in the room, we'll let you guys go first. Please, approach the mic, state your name and your address, and please limit to 3 minutes. Nick, if you wouldn't mind keeping time, that would be helpful. Thank you.
Your issues, so you're gonna see me read it off a screen.
Okay, thank you. Name and
But
address.
Miguel Contreras, 46 Buena Vista, speaking as a resident, not school committee member or speaking for the board at all. But I have been looking for answers to some questions that you all have been asking around the revolving fund of the rec department. And that one, I was just trying to see if there were any other things that we could potentially cover in that account, since there is a large excess balance in there. And from listening to you all and seeing what's written and stuff, I think there might be a confusion on which law we might be looking at, since if we were under the 53D, if there was a balance left over in there, we would, over 10,000, we would have to transfer that into the general fund, but we're under the 53E and a half, which is a little bit more flexible on what we could potentially charge in that account. Since Greenfield does fundraising throughout the year, where they have their fireworks go through that account. Mansfield's is another one that kind of does that for community events. So thinking of like Juneteenth or any of the veterans things or the Pride events, those are things that can definitely be covered in that account. And Chatham, Hartwick, and Wesley all have beach operations or like water safety for lifeguards and things like that that are covered in that account as well, since the 53E and a half allows you to pay for full-time employees as long as you include all of their fringe benefits in that payment as well. So just want to see if maybe we need to update our bylaws to be a little bit more flexible as like some of our other communities, since there is a very large excess balance in there that could potentially help us in our revenue issues that we're having in the town. But would love to hear you guys talk about that in a future session. Thank you.
Thank you. Additional comment? Please.
Good evening. My name is Tissia Vassiliou. I'm a resident of Lewis Road, town meeting member, and the former chair of the Board of Assessors. I'd like my comments to be recorded in the meeting minutes. Verbatim, please. I'm here tonight to follow up on comments I made at the last select board meeting on April 15th. At that meeting, I pointed out my concerns with the inconsistency this board has shown in applying discipline. I shared specific examples of inappropriate behavior in reference to documented investigation. I just wanted to let you all know that I have formally requested an investigation into the matter I shared so that there can be resolution in the hopes that we can all move on. Mr. Grishman, I believe you were misled when all of this occurred, and had we all had the opportunity to speak, it could have been cleared up. So I'm hoping you'll see this as an opportunity to apologize and save the town the trouble of following through with a formal investigation. To the entire select board, tonight is your last meeting as this select board. So you will all thank each other and talk about the good things you've done, the time you have given, and the sacrifices you made for this town, which is all I appreciate and great. I know it's a lot of work. I hope you will also consider the harm that has come from some of your actions, not just to each other, but to the community as a whole. All of you have missteps, and my hope is that you'll all take a moment to consider apologizing to each other and to to those that you've treated with less respect than they deserved, as well as all the members of this community. Because what this town needs right now is to turn over a new leaf and start fresh. We need to come together, and we need our leaders to get us there. So thank you for your time and your service to this community.
Thank you. Any additional comments online or in person? All right, I will read. This is an email from Tom Burke. I'm writing as a Swampscott parent, resident, and someone who grew up here and benefited firsthand from the town's public schools. I strongly support the proposal 3.25% increase to the school's budget. To me, public education is one of the clearest signals of what kind of community we want to be, a strong, vibrant town. They shape kids, strengthen community pride, and give families a reason to stay, invest, and build their lives here. I now have 2 young children, ages 10 and 8, and it's deeply important to me that they receive a strong public education in Swampscott. I also believe schools should offer more than academics alone. Extracurriculars matter. They build confidence, connection, and pride in the town, and I would love to see opportunities continue to grow, including things like bringing hockey back to Swampscott High School. Excuse me. From what has been shared publicly, school costs are being driven largely by compensation and core student supports, not extras. That is exactly why I believe this increase is both reasonable and important. I want you to hear from a younger parent in town who cares deeply about this community and believes investing in our school is investing in Swampscott's future. Thank you for your time and consideration. And if you have any questions, he's happy to speak with anyone directly. Sincerely, Tom Burke. All right, we will move from public comment to new and old business. We will start with the discussion and possible vote on the residential parking at Cedar Hill.
I can start, and we have a couple folks from the police department here as well, because they've been instrumental in helping us try to figure out a solution. We've gotten a number of emails and been contacted relating to the lack of available parking for residents on Cedar Hill Terrace, primarily driven by some of the commercial activity in the area, we believe. And we see an opportunity here that needs you all to act in order to address, to perhaps add a couple of no parking spaces at the bottom of the hill, and then also to make resident only. And so if I could just share my screen real quick, I can share an image that we have. So as you can see in this photo, Cedar Hill Terrace, where it intersects with Humphrey, what we are suggesting is to add no parking in this red area down at the bottom. I believe on the right side it's seasonally limited right now as it is. And then also from a little further up the hill here from the garage up to the corner with Bayview Ave, also add no parking on that side as well, in order to allow traffic to have clear line of sight and also to sort of control and limit how many folks are parking in the area. This dark blue line along the residential side of Cedar Hill Terrace would become resident only, and would also allow for those residents to each have a visitor parking pass as well that would be issued at the same time as their resident parking, so that, you know, anytime someone has something going on, they would still have access to parking in the area. This is a change that we talked through, and I'm happy to let the chief speak if you would like to, but we talked through a couple of different options trying to understand what might work best. And this seemed like the option that would preserve parking for the residents of the area, but also make sure that the commercial activity in the area did not make it difficult for them to find parking at any point throughout the day. But, you know, preserve their opportunity not only for guests, but for themselves to have parking on the street. So I'm not sure if you have anything that either of you would like to add and to the conversation, or if you want to open it up to any questions that the board may have.
Good evening. We're willing to open up to questions. What we've noticed, though, as a historical perspective, the residents on Cedar Hill Terrace often, from what we've heard, because there's only been 2 calls that we've received since 2025 from the residents about the parking, but it seems that maybe they're not calling us every time that somebody is parking in front of the residence. So we feel that this might be the best way to allow the residents to have the parking, as well as ensure that there's no parking from Humphrey to about the opening, the entrance of Four Seasons. That'll give a line of sight for everybody. The roadway itself on Cedar Hill Terrace is about 25 feet long, so it would allow still vehicles to get through. It's tight, just like our entire town. It's very condensed and congested, but it would still allow access through that roadway. So we feel like this might be the best way to mitigate the residents. What we've heard is people from the dentist's office are often parking on Cedar Hill Terrace, who are visiting the dentist's office just south of on Humphrey, as well as the maybe parking, the immediate parking by Four Seasons and the businesses there. So we're happy to take any questions. Joe, Captain Cable here has a very good historical perspective on all the issues there, but that basically sums it up, unless there's anything else that you might add for.
No, I think it's been summed up well, Chief.
Okay.
Go ahead,
Any
Dan.
questions?
Yeah, just a few questions. Totally understand the sight lines right along Humphrey Street. So is the fact that there's no parking on the south side of Cedar Hill Terrace, is that just a function of the width of the street? So the street could not handle
Go ahead.
dual parking?
That's correct. We were concerned that the sightline turning off onto Bayview up at the top was a concern for pedestrians. And then the road narrows down. If you park two cars on either side, it basically becomes a one-lane road.
Got it, okay.
It's
And then-
also
and
like
then-
a terrible spot if you're trying to turn coming down the hill to
Yeah.
get visibility onto Humphrey.
Mhm. Yeah, it's tough.
It's terrible.
It's
So
tough.
It would
And
be
then-
even more difficult with cars.
Yes.
Yeah, and then how many 1-hour parking spots are there approximately? Would there be in this proposed plan, 5, 6?
Yeah, I would estimate that you could get about 6 cars in that space when I counted it out.
There,
Yeah.
actually. Is this the standard amount of setback or whatever we have when we talking about the Humphrey Street side of things? That much no parking for visibility issues?
To the intersection.
So the standard is 20 feet. There's an interesting problem there where the driveway to Four Seasons is up past there, and they will park blocking their own driveway, so we can't enforce it, but it impacts the sightlines. So we, on that graph, have shown it going back to about the first pole. It's a little further than 20 feet.
Makes sense to me.
What's the parking fine for no parking and for the 1-hour parking?
Off the top of my head, I believe it's $75.
That was thanks to us earlier.
I was gonna say, are you looking at me? Because I did get a ticket this year for parking in a,
Beach area?
nope, snow band. The snow band started at 11 and I was at church, guys, and I got a parking
Oh.
ticket. It's true, true story. But I think it was $75, so I
Playing the
can
church card.
corroborate that story.
Okay. So the parking fines would just be in line with everything else, beach, so it's all uniform?
Absolutely.
So there seems to, so one question or one thing that constantly comes up whenever I have office hours or when we're talking to neighbors is the lack of enforcement on Humphrey Street and how cars are parked there for all ends of time. Would you mind sending us, the select board, a summary of how many parking tickets were written on Humphrey Street in the month of April? Just give us 30 days. And what will be the process as far as enforcing? Do people have to call, or will this be enforced on a regular patrol?
Yes and yes. So yes, when people call, we respond to any parking violations, but the officers also proactively, when we're not engaging in calls for service, will conduct parking enforcement.
Right. That's great. So if you could send the board, like the last 30 days of how many parking tickets were written on Humphrey Street. I think that would be pretty interesting.
Do you have exactly where from, or just the entire length of Humphrey
You
Street?
could pick Mission on the Bay
Okay.
to
To
this
Four
corner.
Seasons?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have to say, I'm not going to make a big deal about it, but, you know, if you look at the picture that you have kind of looking down Cedar Hill, and it shows, you know, very clearly the cars parked on both sides, there's actually plenty of room there.
Well,
It looks like, because the people on the residential side, you know, they've got room to actually be off the street. So I'm just, you know, we have a parking issue in this town, and I just, you know, I get it. We don't want to cause safety issues, but on the other hand, I don't think we need to take parking spots offline for no reason either. So, you guys see the picture I'm referring to? But maybe I'm missing something.
Yeah, I took those pictures. So what you have is the cars are parked up on the sidewalk to try and create room, forcing the pedestrians out into the street. So we want to be able to correct that and have cars parked on the street and keep the sidewalk open. The black car and all the cars on the wooded side of the street are blocking the sidewalk in that picture.
So I was missing something. That's what you were nicely saying, Captain Cable. Thank you.
So I have to assume that most of the folks who are parking in this 1 hour parking, well, what will be 1 hour parking are somehow either related to the dentist or Four Seasons. So if we could ensure that they are not blocking the pedestrian walkway there, that would be great too. Because I assume there'll be repeat parkers in that area. It's convenient for them to their establishments.
So we need to vote on this?
Yes.
Yes, we do need to.
I think
Generally, we introduce something and then we vote on it the second time. My only concern about voting on it right now is if people from this neighborhood wanted to come out, or the dentist office, or whoever, you know, that's generally what we do. We introduce it and then vote a second time. I just want to make sure people have the opportunity to come out and say, it's a good idea, bad idea. I mean, I
Yeah.
like it, it's a really good idea, and I'm in support of this. I just want to make sure people have a fair shot.
Yeah, I hear you. I think this was a call to action by the neighborhood, which instigated it, but I guess if people want to come out and say they're anti it, then we haven't allowed for such a thing. So we can
Add it to the next agenda.
add it to next.
Just for a vote.
For a vote. Do you guys want to voice your opinions now? That way we can make sure they're emboldened if we choose.
I would refrain, because I want to make sure that we have plenty of opportunity for people to fully express themselves, so I wouldn't want to get out in front of that.
All right. David?
Same.
Same. All right, well, guess we'll leave it for another day then. Moving on to discussion, possible vote. Thank you both very much for coming. Discussion, possible vote, and first reading of the proposed bylaw regarding the inspection of sewer lateral at the time of sale or transfer. As we discussed earlier, we have the chair of the Water and Sewer Infrastructure Advisory Committee and the vice chair, and they'll do a little presentation for us, and then we can get into it. Oh, Kelly, hold on one second. You're talking and your box is lit up, but we can't hear you, so. Joe's gonna help us figure that out. 1 second, please. She's not muted. I can see that she's talking and her box turns blue, but can you try now, Kelly?
Hello.
Yes,
Whoa.
we hear you loud and clear now. Thank you.
All right, great. You can see the slides okay?
Yep.
Yes.
All right, great. Well, thanks for having us. And Brian Drummond is there in person as well. So we wanted to share, I think folks on the select board had a copy of the proposed bylaw, which is also included in the warrant for town meeting. And the proposed bylaw is called Inspection of Sewer Lateral at the Time of Sale or Transfer. So we just wanted to kind of give an overview of that bylaw. And just by way of history and recalling how we got here, this same bylaw was included in the warrant last year. But in the copying process, it was missing a handful of pages. that then precipitated a number of comments related to missing information, largely, not entirely, but largely to do with the missing pages. So since that time, so ultimately this was not voted on at the last town meeting as a result of that, those omitted pages. So in the meantime, we did receive comments from a couple of folks between then and now, and so the revised draft that went to KP Law that you should have a copy of that we'll run through here reflects relatively minor edits to what was proposed last year. Nothing super substantial, but little tweaks here and there to address comments that were received. And then I guess one giant step backward is the reason why this bylaw is being proposed. As we all know, there's been a lot of efforts underway over the past number of years to address MS4 and infrastructure, stormwater infrastructure issues that are, of course, related to issues with the beach and bacteria on the beaches. And so when this committee, the Water and Sewer Committee, was initially created a couple of years ago, one of the first things that the committee looked at was what peer communities are doing. And this type of a bylaw was one tool in the toolbox that other peer communities were using to try to get at that issue and prevent leaking laterals or other illicit discharges that were being discharged through laterals to kind of catch that at the sale of properties to try to minimize that type of inflow and infiltration. Okay, so the purpose is really to prevent illegal connections, sump pumps, roof drains, groundwater to the sewer system, and to reduce infiltration and inflow and protect the sewer system capacity and subsequent treatment costs. The bylaw requires the inspection of sewer laterals when property connected to the town's sanitary sewer system is sold or transferred. And this approach reflects standard Mass DEP and Title 15 policy approaches. And I'm sure you've seen this figure before, but just is a kind of pictorial demonstrating some of the types of issues with laterals that we're trying to identify at the sale of property so that we can remedy them before the transaction or within 6 months of the transaction going through. The key requirements are the inspection required at transfer. Prior to transferring the property, the seller must apply to the Department of Public Works for an inspection and obtain either a certificate of compliance or non-compliance. The certificate is valid for 2 years from the date of issuance. And in terms of timing, the inspections must occur at least 9 months prior to the transfer. If weather prevents the inspection, it must be completed as soon as feasible, but no later than 6 months after the transfer. And sellers must notify buyers in writing of these inspection requirements. The application process involves the seller submitting an application to the DPW and paying a non-refundable inspection fee. By applying, the property owner grants the town permission to enter the property for inspection during reasonable hours, and the DPW must issue a compliance or non-compliance certificate within 14 days of inspection, or approval is deemed granted if access was provided and no action was taken. So in terms of specifically what is being inspected, the town will inspect the sewer lateral to ensure no illegal connections exist. Examples include roof drains, sump pumps, and downspouts. Inspection will ensure that there are no defects existing in the sewer lateral, like cracks, breaks, or leaks that would allow groundwater infiltration or sewage leakage. And inspection methods may include CCTV inspections of the lateral, and depending on the circumstances, visual inspections, smoke testing, or dye testing. In terms of non-compliance inspections and corrections, if violations are found, the DPW issues a certificate of non-compliance identifying the needed corrective actions. The property owner must make the required repairs and request re-inspection, and all violations must be corrected within 6 months of property transfer. Re-inspections may incur additional fees. Fees, penalty, and enforcement. The application and inspection fees are to be set by the DPW. Violations may result in fines of up to $300 per day per violation until resolved, and failure to inspect, correct, and prevent illegal discharges is prohibited. We did receive only one comment from KP Law, which is presented above. The penalty section could include a non-criminal disposition section if the town wishes. It would give the town the ability to issue tickets for violations. So we could, if folks are in agreement, we could add to Section 8, the provision at the bottom of the slide. The provisions of this bylaw may be enforced by non-criminal disposition in accordance with the provisions of Mass General Law 40, Section 21D. And that is the quick overview. And so we'll open it up to discussion.
Well, thank you very much, Kelly. I actually, this prompted a bunch of questions for me, actually. Try to be super quick. First of all, you said that other towns have very, very similar, if not identical, bylaws, correct?
We do, yeah, it's most similar to Danvers, but we did also look at Marblehead, Salem, and others.
Okay. And is there, I mean, this sounds like, I have no, how many, I don't know how many sales happen in Swampscott every year? Like how many, what's the burden of this on town staff to be, is it town staff that's doing this? DPW is actually going out and checking this? Do we have any idea what the burden is?
In terms of hours, no, we can calculate that, though, in advance of town meeting. It's been discussed as part of the ongoing discussion.
You mean do the video and stuff like that?
Yeah, whatever needs to be done.
Or
They don't,
There's-
DPW doesn't
Yeah,
do the
there's an
video.
inspection.
Inspection
It's not
company does that.
DPW-led.
Okay.
They
so
would
we have to
still-
pay an inspection company.
They're gonna pay, because there's a non-refundable inspection fee.
Okay.
And then there will be a review that needs to be done on the town side of whatever results come back.
Mm-hmm.
So what are the costs to the home buyer?
So I don't have the number for you for what the smoke or video would cost. I can, again, absolutely get that in advance of town meeting, so it will become part of the presentation, what we can anticipate it would be. It would not be something that we would have entered into a contract in advance of anything passing, so we could give sort of a best estimate based on talking to folks that provide the service. And I don't know, Brian or Kelly, if you have any color to add to that as well.
I think it, generally speaking, and I suppose it can vary depending on the, length of the lateral and the, specifics, but in general, I think it's about $500 for a CCTV inspection of a sewer lateral. I suppose it could go up to $800, but it's pretty run-of-the-mill in the $500 ballpark.
Okay. And would we be able to bring up that diagram? Because I thought that was very helpful and useful. And can you just show us where the homeowner's responsibility is, or show us and members of the public, where the homeowner's responsibility is versus where the town's responsibility ends? I think that'll be helpful.
Yep, and it's really from the house to the middle of the street to where the sewer main is.
Is the homeowner's responsibility?
Correct.
Yeah.
Right.
What is the plan for public hearings and getting this information out to residents?
We would be able to schedule public meetings with Water Sewer Advisory Committee. It's something Kelly and I spoke about a little earlier today. That could be both virtual and or in person. I know they did one last year. It was, the feedback was comprehensive, but it was lightly attended, so it might be something where a virtual meeting is a little easier for everyone to figure out this time. But that would be the main opportunity with which to gain feedback. I know that some of the folks that provided feedback at the public meeting last year have also participated in Water Sewer Advisory Committee meetings in order to incorporate that feedback now as opposed to waiting until public meetings in the future.
Yeah, I think it's important to remember, this is not a new concept we're trying to roll out. It's a version of a concept that we tried to roll out last year, and we have been talking about really for 18 months probably at this point, if not longer. So absolutely we should hold open public hearings. Folks can have thoughts and feelings about it. But as far as the fees are concerned, the fees, my opinion is the fees should not be listed in here, because then we'd have to amend them every time. And like, it's gotta just be like, we agree to cover cost of the testing and the administration of the, you know, like the subject matter surrounding it, but like, within, I mean, I don't think it makes sense to put a fee in this.
Yeah, no, I think
It doesn't.
it's fair feedback to make sure that the presentation, whether done by me, Water Sewer Advisory Committee members, whomever, that we include where we are right now with an
The
estimated
impact.
cost, so that
Yeah.
people understand that. And also highlight the fact that it is not pegged to today's cost. If those costs go up in the future, it's something that we need to reflect.
Yeah, no, just for purposes of conversation.
Absolutely.
Understanding that it can range widely, depending on factors X, Y, and Z. I was just curious if there was a general number, which
Right.
it seems
Hell
like
yeah.
there is.
I doubt the common homeowner knows the length of their lateral, so they wouldn't know if they're looking at 500 or 800 or 1,000, because how would we know? I also, Kelly, if you would go to the last slide about the comment from KP. I want to touch a little bit on this. I do think KP's comment, thank you, appreciate that, is we should add the language on the below to it. It says it may be enforced, not shall be enforced, so it just gives us more flexibility and option to do that if we decide we'd like to go through with issuing tickets for the violations. So I think it would be wise for us to do that.
Can we go back
So,
to the context for that, though? I mean, if there are issues, people will get a certificate of non-compliance. So they'll have to, and this kind of leads into the other conversation. So then they're going to be responsible for fixing it before sale, right? Because otherwise they won't have the certificate for the sale. And yet, well, there's a couple things here. Because there's a provision in here, if it's bad weather, then you can actually sell it, and you have till 6 months after, basically, to do it. But then you'd be responsible, I guess, for fixing it. So I don't understand
Yeah,
where
I
the
think-
violation, so if I'm sitting here with a lateral, I have no idea whether or not there's any issue with my lateral. So fine, you're gonna inspect it before I sell it, but then you're also gonna like fine me for like not knowing that my lateral's broken? Like, am I missing something here?
Well, you're gonna
I
have,
think
Yeah.
go ahead, yeah.
You're missing something.
go ahead,
Okay.
Mary Ellen.
So my understanding from watching your meetings is that people have the opportunity to fix the issue, and if it's not able to be fixed, then the onus would be sitting on the new homeowner. And what they generally find is the homeowner will have money held back and put into escrow so that they have the opportunity to fix it. But I think the fine is only really there in the event somebody isn't making an effort to fix it or to move forward.
Also,
Right.
the certificate's good for 2 years, so if you start this process when you put your house on the market and you don't sell it for a period of time, like, you still have a valid certificate for issuance, so you're not waiting till the day of close to ask for this.
So if we already have the ability to, so you're, next slide, Kelly, sorry. So in order to do this violation may result in fines up to $300 per day. Do we need that additional language in order to do that?
You mean the KP law language?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that, and certainly any of the attorneys on the line could probably have a better explanation, but I think the gist of it is that this language would make it easier. It would be basically a ticket. So it would make the process of collecting, of assessing the $300 violation and collecting a little bit easier.
I see, okay. All right. Okay, that's what I was kind of reacting to. It felt like a double whammy.
Yeah,
Okay, but that's
yeah.
not the point. All right, okay.
Yep. And I don't think the intent, we did have some internal discussions at our committee meetings, that were open to the public, but there was discussion about the $300 fine, and I don't think it's the intent of the town or anybody else to really, actually collect $300 per day, every day. I think if people are working in good faith and there isn't a desire to make this a big moneymaker by collecting $300 every day that passes. It's just something to have some teeth to it, for there to be some, penalty associated with noncompliance.
And when did that kick in, the $300, if you didn't adhere after how long?
6 months, you have 6 months to
6
make
months, okay.
it has to be 6 months after the sale. So, all violations must be corrected within 6 months of the property transfer.
And by leaving it as may as opposed to shall, to Katie's point, that does give a little opportunity for grace and understanding and trying, if we know that it is moving towards completion, even if we're getting to that 6 month or just beyond, leaves a little bit of interpretation that would allow the town to work with a homeowner.
And then it puts you in a position of playing favorites, basically,
Right.
whether or not you enforce it, so.
Subjective enforcement.
It's one way to look at it.
Just makes it more difficult.
It does.
Is the suggestion to become shall then?
Well, I think it's either we actually impose a fine and enforce it, or we don't say anything about it, because the wishy-washiness in the middle, I think, gets us into trouble.
Well, this is just the ticket, not the fine. So the fine language is 8A, so the fine language is clear and complete. So it does say there's a civil collection proceedings in the amount not to exceed, $300 for each violation. Each day that the violation continues, it shall be considered a separate violation. So I think that's pretty clear.
Right.
But the piece of whether or not we issue a ticket and then start trying to collect said funds is the may, so I guess doesn't matter.
This is like the difference between sending an invoice versus a ticket?
Right.
Okay. Thank you, KP.
I mean, it's difficult to say, we're gonna put it there, but we're not gonna enforce it, right? Or we're gonna imply that we're not gonna enforce it, or it's really not meant to be that. That's the kind of stuff that is really kind of, it doesn't incentivize people to actually fix something, right? If they know that we're really not gonna do what we say we're gonna do, right? So that's my
But you-
conundrum.
Right, but you're catching this, I mean, the fee is a shall,
Right,
as it is in here already, right? That's no doubt,
right.
right?
Yep.
And then, I guess, then your point is like, why even add this language? Just
Right.
muddies the waters in
Right.
a way, instead of helping.
It leaves it open for interpretation, right, by whoever the TA is at the time, or whoever, I mean, I don't know, who would enforce it? Would it be the TA? Would it be the
DPW?
DPW head?
Probably
Who-
the DPW, right?
I believe it would be DPW. I can
DPW,
confirm that, though.
Yeah.
right.
I guess what we're missing is,
How do we-
why, is it that difficult to just assess the fee, period?
Yeah,
Like, why are we adding this extra language about this shit, you may do something as a ticket, as opposed to just doing the fee?
yeah,
Like, is that something so cumbersome to just do the fee?
automatic.
Well, I think you need a mechanism to trigger the fee. So you need some condition in there, right, to assess a penalty. So there's a fee related to inspection, right?
Yeah?
And they pay that up front, and then the inspection fails. Brian, stop me anytime if I'm wrong. The inspection fails, now they have 6 months to correct it. Likely the papers have passed, and they've funded through escrow potentially what they suppose the fix is gonna be. And now they have a new person in their home, right, new owner, and new owner is working to get that accomplished. And if something, for example, outside of new owner's ability or control occurs, to your point, like, then we have a mechanism to try to entice old homeowner to, but we're really penalizing the new homeowner, right? We're not penalizing the old homeowner.
So, a question then, why wouldn't we approach this the way we would a water lien, right? When someone sells their property and you have to get a certificate from the water department that says your water bill is paid, why wouldn't we approach this the same way? It has to be done before the sale, period, right? You can't sell it and then, 6 months later, we'll give you, no. You need this documentation, you need this certificate to sell your property, right? Was that a consideration, or is that an option, or is it,
It was a consideration. There was a lot of discussion about not stopping the sale of homes for, all kinds of reasons. It really is to just get these repairs to be made, but not there. We didn't want a ripple effect of creating a real estate,
Burden.
crisis of people not being able to close on their houses, depending, the markets can be different, and the timing of things can be very compressed depending on whether the market is really hot and all that. We didn't want to get into the complexities of actually slowing down and stopping sales as a result.
But
Well,
can't we?
if someone has a septic system, right, in a South Shore town, you're required to get a Title IX or Title V inspection so that you can sell your property, right? That's a condition if you have a septic system, right? I kind of see this as the same or similar, and while we don't want to hold up a sale, we will hold up a sale if you haven't paid your water bill, right? And there's an outstanding lien. So I don't kind of see the difference here.
So one is it's a cost being borne by the town, because if they don't pay for the water, every other ratepayer is paying for it.
Right.
We're talking about improvements to private property that we're requiring of them. And so like a Title V, you can sell a home with a failed Title V, but it's out in the open that it's failed and it needs to be addressed.
But can you get a loan when you actually do that?
Part of it is normally to get a DEP loan that's at 0%, like,
Right.
like there are DEP
Most
loans.
lenders aren't going to give you one if you fail a title.
Yeah.
But there are opportunities to get funding from the state or to do it as part of the sale, which Title V was created at the time of transfer because that's the time at which there's enough money moving between the current homeowner and the future homeowner to cover that cost.
Right. I just don't see how we have any recourse, even with the 6-month post timeline.
Yep.
Like, we're setting ourselves up to fail. I personally just think it would behoove this town to have, really, to put a hold on the sale until it's fixed.
Well, one question on that, Danielle. There was something earlier about the weather. Is it very difficult to do these in any way, like when it's like 0 degrees out or whatever, 10 degrees for a month? If that ever happens?
Well, the repair might be difficult,
Yeah.
I guess, because you're gonna uproot the front yard or whatever to get to your lateral to replace it. So yeah, if you have 10 feet of snow on your ground or whatever, and you have to move all that, and so I would assume that, yes, you would have an issue timing repair.
Is that true, Kelly, Brian? Is that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the CCTV can be done and it isn't really weather dependent, but the repair could be.
Yeah, I also don't know sorry, Doug, I just don't know the universe. I don't have a good concept of the universe of like, number one, how many sales occur? So what are we talking about? What's the pool we're talking about? Number two, what we project the lateral failure to be. So like, are we really talking about 5 sites a year on average? Are we talking about 50 sites a year on average? Like, I just don't have a concept of it, so it's hard for me to say we need more guardrails, or it's okay that we're a little bit less with the guardrails and let's like take a year, see how it plays out, monitor it, and then consider coming back. I just don't know.
My understanding from listening to one of your meetings when you were discussing this was to just give as much flexibility to being able to have this repaired and not put a burden on the home buyer or the home seller, and that this was your committee's recommendation, just to, be able to achieve the goal of having the repair without putting a burden on anybody.
Yeah.
Well, somebody has to bear the burden of fixing it.
Right.
But
So how do we, we can't, the town can't certainly bear that burden, and that's what's happening, so.
Well, but I think.
They would
I
be
think-
fixing it.
here, just the way, I'm not bothered by giving this 6 months because of the weather thing. But I would just leave off the KP comment, and this just says, if you got 6 months, you knew about it before, you have to know about it before you sell,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Then you get 6 months to fix it. I think that seems like plenty reasonable time to fix it, right?
And it's
And
far-
so then if you don't do it,
You shall.
it's a fee.
It's
a
far
shell.
more likely
Yeah.
that you will escrow greater than the repair.
Right.
So the seller doesn't want to keep that money tied up in escrow. They want to fix it and get their money back and move on. Like, they want to be done with it. I think there is still an incentive to it, for them to do the work. I don't think they've lost all the leverage there.
So just on sales, it's about somewhere between 200 and 260 annually.
A year.
Yeah.
A year. Okay,
So maybe 10% would run into this. I mean, I don't know, I'm throwing that figure out there
yeah.
of saying, you know, faulty lateral.
From all your lateral work.
Right, from me digging down under the manholes. I mean, I don't know, does anyone have a better statistic they can throw out? Do we know how often this
It would be great if it was even less. I guess we should, I mean, obviously, I'd love to come back and understand after we pass this, how many have actually failed and like what the.
Do we even know that?
calendar-
Would we even know if
We
one
should from our
fails?
work, right? Gino should know this, how
Yeah,
many,
maybe
like,
there's an estimate.
So the work that Gina's doing is in a very defined universe of, it's
Right.
not
And it's
townwide.
only laterals that cross.
So we have
the
to-
It's laterals across the sewer in Stacy's Brook area. So it's not,
Small subset, I mean, we
Right.
have no idea.
so I think we might be better served by just reaching out to Danvers, Salem, places, Marblehead, places that are doing it and just say, what is a
Sure, average.
failure rate look like?
Yeah, that's a
That can be something, to the point David raised earlier, that can be part of the presentation at town meeting, just so people have context and
Yeah.
understand if we're selling 250 homes in a year, the towns that have it nearby with similar, sort of housing stock, have a failure rate of X% each year. That's something that we could just do a little research on.
Yep.
Can you just go back to the KP Law thing? I'm not really seeing why the KP Law thing is a big deal. Doug?
because it introduces ambiguity.
Right.
Because
it's
May
gotta
be
may.
enforced.
it says the provisions of the bylaw
May,
may be
not.
enforced
We
by
might-
non-criminal disposition,
We might
rather
think
than
about
saying
it.
shall be, or just not saying anything at all.
Or will be,
Or,
right?
yeah, will or shall, yeah, either.
And even though I don't think that actually is intended to take away the shall,
Right.
I think it's only saying that you may enforce it through a different
Right.
mechanism,
Correct.
right? That's all it's
Correct,
saying.
that's all it's saying.
But I still feel like,
So I will just highlight, like, health and building inspector they have discretionary language in a lot of cases. So that, like,
discretion, like to call it a ticket or
they say
discretion to
may
actually do
versus
the-
shall.
But about assessing the fee or the way you assess the fee? Because this is only about the way you assess it.
I guess I'm failing to see a significant like, for me, if you're talking about something like the building inspector and signage on Humphrey Street, he could be writing tickets every day. Or he could be assessing fines, rather, every day for signs that are outside the bylaws and outside what we allow.
Right.
His preference, and I think this is appropriate when you talk about building in not health inspections in terms of safety, but health inspections broadly, like, there's an opportunity to say, we want you to cure this. You're outside compliance. We're not gonna start assessing a fee of $250 every day for a, neon sign that shouldn't be in the window.
Understood, Nick, but I think with all due respect, I think you're confusing the issue, because what we're saying is that the bylaw, as it's proposed, without KP's comment, is a shall, period. And this doesn't change the shall. This only adds an
A
option
mechanism.
about the
Ambiguity.
way you actually assess the fee, not whether or not you're going to do it.
I do understand that. So,
Am I understanding incorrectly then, or?
no, I wanted to introduce the idea because when I originally said the may versus shall, the feedback was you're leaving it up to discretion of town employees. I'm highlighting that exists in other places in town.
Right.
That's all I'm doing.
Okay, but that would be a different conversation about introducing discretion to
A may
actually
into
assess the fee.
first part of the fee,
Yeah,
into
right,
8A.
right, as best I understand it.
But I think there should be a distinction between something that is polluting
Yeah,
our
agreed,
waterways
agreed.
and a sign that
Right.
is against zoning.
Yeah, totally.
Those two things are
I
not
think there's a
equal.
difference between an education as far as like a person who's going to maintain a business and understanding what code violations look like and how we assess them, and a change in control of a house whose lateral is, leaking into, hopefully,
King's Beach,
yeah.
Or
or whatever
elsewhere.
beach.
Or into our sewers. All right, so, yes, I agree though, Nick, that we need, whatever presentation happens at town meeting, if this successful needs to include the context, should include some, costs projections to the homeowner, should include, it would be great if we had some stats like David provided, like how many, property sales are occurring in the year, and from other towns who have similar bylaws, Salem, Marblehead, Danvers, how many failures they're having in a year based on their property sale numbers for a percentage of failure.
Well, what is our recommendation going to be then on this line with KP Law?
I'm a no.
You don't wanna put it in.
Because it's, leaves too much ambiguity there.
Sam?
I think we could always add this section to the bylaw if we,
Right, that's
it's
what
not required
I'm thinking, take it out.
for the bylaw, so.
Mhm.
If KP Law comes back and says, upon listening to our conversation, that it is required, we should know immediately.
But is it your opinion that we should leave it in?
My
Is it your
opinion,
recommendation that we leave it in?
I think it's something that they had highlighted for discussion among the board, so I'm happy to follow wherever you all land on this. The work that the Water Sewer Advisory Committee has done over a long period has created what is before us. They offered an alternative that could be added. I don't think it is something that necessarily is up to me. It was an opportunity that Tom wanted to highlight for us, and we're more than welcome to take or dismiss any of their advice.
Right.
It doesn't really, materially change the idea that this is a priority that people share, and finding the best way to do it that can get a recommendation from the board and get town meeting to act, I think, is what's most important.
Kelly, did you have any thoughts based on the feedback we just gave, what you think about that last line?
I don't really feel super strong one way or the other. I think the point is, these things need to get inspected, and they need to be repaired within 6 months. How, the mechanism for assessing the penalty, I don't feel strongly what the mechanism is.
Okay.
What about you,
I think
Brian?
Well, I was gonna say, if I'm doing performance appraisals of KP Law, I'd say putting could be in a, opinion to us, non-lawyers and non-real estate people isn't helpful, and even with that, could have explained because of this reason or because of that reason, and it's just, I think you can leave it as it is. It's a fine, it's clear, and if we must change it down the road, we can change that line. That's where I'm parked.
Thank you.
Okay. So, I guess then,
We will be discussing this when we get to the warrant section anyway,
okay,
Okay.
so we will look at it
so
again.
you'll have an opportunity
We can
to.
punt for 10 minutes.
Talk
So
about
that's,
Non-lawyers and non-real estate
yeah, I
people
do want to make a note.
isn't helpful,
Oh.
and even with that,
We're on delay
could have
Joe?
explained, is that me?
Yeah.
Because of this reason,
Joe,
or
we're
because
on
of that
delay
reason, and it's
in the
just,
speaker.
I think you can leave it as it is.
That's Brian.
It's a fine, it's
You already said
clear.
those things.
And if
It's like
we
we've traveled back and forth.
must change it down the road, we can change that line. language from getting. That's
I think it was extremely well said.
Yeah.
It was worth
That's
reading.
okay.
I just wanted to hear it twice.
Yes, it was just so we can bleep you out if you get rowdy. Yeah, we will talk about it again when it comes up in the warrant, but the appendix references C, not E.
Okay.
So we will move on, we'll vote on it with the,
Right.
oh, sorry, yes.
I was gonna ask that question, as far as, at some point you guys have to vote on it, is that would be?
Yeah, we'll vote on it when we vote on the warrant, and then
Yeah.
we'll decide, who will speak on it.
Because it's
Make a
included in
recommendation.
the warrant at this point.
That's what.
It is included in the
Yeah.
warrant
Yeah.
at this point, and we'll make a recommendation
Okay.
from the select board as it exists in the warrant, when we get to the warrant in, discussion item number 4.
So I guess we need Kelly and Brian to be waiting around here, or is there
Do you
some?
want to take a straw poll, so they feel comfortable about leaving?
Yeah, I mean, if there's any other questions on that, I suppose that would be helpful to them, I would think.
Okay.
I mean, is there a reason why we can't,
Vote on it now?
I guess? Yeah.
Sure. Do you want to make a motion, Doug?
I feel bad now that David's out of the room.
I know. Do you want to wait till he gets back?
Sure,
No pressure, David.
whatever you
Doesn't
want to do.
even know.
We could also take the warrant out of order if you want, so that we can move them.
Sure.
Okay.
We can take on the warrant next, and then we can go straight to this article.
As soon as David's back, we'll jump to
We'll
this.
vote.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So we will, that's a great suggestion, Nick, thank you. We will take the new business out of order we will move from the Hawthorne lease approval to the discussion and vote of the annual town meeting warrant. We will skip, apologies if you're following at home, but we will skip directly to Article 10 so that Brian and Kelly could enjoy the rest of their evening, or stay with us if they so choose, which is the inspection of the sewer laterals at the time of sale. So my comment stands about the appendix reference. And then Kelly and Brian, somebody will just pop up and perhaps give a version of that very quick slideshow during town meeting, right?
Correct. I'll work with them on a
Okay.
presentation
Great.
that will highlight the information requested and anything else they want to share.
Okay, perfect. All right, so,
Well, I'm just gonna like make a little editorial comment here for a moment.
'Cause you have
A
the
little bit
time.
stalling
It's
for
your
David
last
too.
night,
But
so.
no. But yeah, somewhat because of that. I just want to say thank you to Kelly and to Brian and to the whole Water and Sewer Infrastructure Advisory Committee. I know it has not necessarily always been a pleasurable experience, but we are, I'll speak for myself. I am very, very grateful for all the work that you all have put into so many issues, and from everything from the somewhat mundane, persevering on something like this, to the much larger issues that you're putting in endless hours. It's really, really appreciated by me, I think by a lot of people, for a long time to come. So I just wanted to take that chance to thank you.
I second that.
yep, I
Third.
echoing Doug's comments, appreciate it very, very much.
Yes.
All right, David, we moved on to the warrant so that Brian and Kelly could leave us if they so choose, and we skipped to Article 10, right to that, so we can vote on the article. So I will take a motion to vote on Article 10 of the sewer lateral at the time of sale or transfer as reflected in Article Appendix C
So moved.
warrant. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's a 5-0.
So that's just going to show us the select board recommends 5-0, right?
Yep, the select board recommends 5-0. I'm sure Patrick is already changing it. All right, so as the town administrator stated, he'll work with you guys to get something presented, which incorporates some of the commentary we just gave. Thank you guys.
Thank you, Brian.
Very, very
Kelly,
much.
for all your
Thank
work.
you.
Kelly.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you, thank you.
All right, so we'll go backwards in time to the first article, which is
Approve bills prior fiscal years.
the bills of prior fiscal year. Oh, sorry, the second article, because the first one's the reports of boards and
Correct.
committees. Yep.
So we have, excuse me, do we have a list of those boards and committees that are going to be presenting?
We've been looking at what's been done in the past. I will work with the chair to make sure that we address all of them that may want to. You know, watching the last couple of years, it's been limited. And so we want to make sure that we give anyone the opportunity, but you know, Shannon and I have been watching past meetings, and we'll work with the chair this week to make sure.
Is it our
More
decision
Shannon than
time.
I.
or the decision of the moderator?
I can also speak to whoever
think-
wins the moderator's race.
Yes, I think
tomorrow.
it's traditionally been the moderator who has coordinated in conjunction with the town administrator, so
That's accurate.
it is our warrant. We've given the space and the moderator helps facilitate it, so whoever wins tomorrow will be able to help do that for us. But I think everyone's typically very cognizant of time.
Ryan.
Sure.
So. We don't know yet. Doug?
I said go Ryan.
Oh, go Ryan. Okay, well, let's not get political here.
Oh, boy.
Approval on the bills of prior fiscal year, so we have parking ticket processing, duty medical claims, and unemployment claims. Any commentary on that before anybody have any
Do you have anything to
questions?
The second one doesn't have a dollar amount?
It does, it says 36.
36,
No, look at your printout.
I printed a new one to reflect the most up-to-date information.
Thank you for the page numbers. Appreciate that feedback.
Thank them.
Patrick,
It was all added last
Shannon.
week, so.
It's page 2. Doug.
Yep.
Can you just describe, so, that was a claim from last year that just fell through the cracks, or what does that mean?
Which bill are you referring to?
The second one.
Scripts?
Yep, so those are injured on duty medical claims for firefighters and police officers that have been obtained disability retirement due to an injury on duty. And it's specifically prescription drug costs that are required by statute to fund for those individuals based on the service-related disability. And came to our attention that those have gone unpaid for a while, so that's not 1 year's worth of claims. That's probably 4 years going back. They weren't being routed to the correct place, and the company never followed up. So the benefits department has put a procedure in place so that those are being routed correctly going forward. But that's why you see a large figure there. Larger.
Okay. Okay. Any additional questions, or I'll entertain a motion to support Article 2?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, that's 5-0. Article 3, the 2026 operating budget. Could you just speak a little bit to where FinCom?
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
Yes, could you speak a little bit to where FinCom left off with it?
Can you?
I'll jump in, yes.
Thanks.
FinCom has not voted on this, they met last Thursday, excuse me.
Yeah.
They voted on an operating budget recommendation and a capital budget recommendation. The other financial articles, they're taking up this Thursday. So
Okay.
Not opined.
Okay, so FinCom voted to support Article 3.
Article 3, they have not
They
discussed,
haven't talked about
They haven't
because
talked
that's the
That's
current year
Thursday.
budget.
Sorry?
Oh, it's prior year.
That's amendment
it. This
to,
Thursday.
Yeah.
that's amendments to the
2026.
Oh,
budget.
26, I apologize.
Well, we were rogue when we actually approved Article 2 without
Oh, without FinCom.
FinCom, huh? Ooh,
I don't think we really
pretty
have.
bold of us.
It was bold of us, because what are we gonna do, not pay our bills? That's not a great look. Okay, so we don't have to take up Article 2 if people wanna wait for a FinCom recommendation. They are meeting on Thursday.
So
What is the
Oh,
nature of
then
it?
we would have to,
that being said, the way that we're going through this with the current membership is that we would affix electronic signatures. You would vote to affix electronic signatures tonight because you are no longer board members after the election.
yeah,
Yeah, I know.
Doug.
So I guess that would be a complicating factor in doing it in this way.
Well, what is the nature of the 2026 actual? I mean, we've got a list of numbers here, but these are all things moving, basically? That's what.
Yeah, so I can highlight a few areas that require funding at town meeting, a budget transfer. The police contract being one. That's been settled, so there's $130,000 anticipated that we're gonna plug into that budget. $20,000 towards veterans benefits that we're obligated to pay out. Those are trending beyond what we budgeted this year. $57,000 towards principal and debt service, and $20,000 towards street lighting maintenance, and $18,000 towards interim town accountant services. So those are the areas that have been identified that require funding. And so we're netting out of areas where we have identified savings. So we're not using free cash at all to balance this year's
All
budget.
balanced, in and out.
This is just a live shuffle?
It's a shuffle.
Yeah.
We're basically drawing on the salary reserve.
Yep,
And
salary
health
reserve,
insurance.
healthcare, and
Yeah.
some vacancy savings from partial year vacancies.
And we have to do this, or why can't
So
we
you
just
need to
reshuffle at the
vote
end of the year?
on the budget transfer for a collective bargaining agreement at town meeting. So that's why this article exists, and we know about these other things, so I think it's prudent to just do it all at once.
Supportive.
Okay, so maybe the motion might be to vote to support, well, we could vote to support outright without waiting for FinCom. We could also vote to support conditioned upon FinCom support. So the only reason we would need to come back is if FinCom didn't support it.
I think that's a good idea.
Okay,
So moved.
so the motion is to condition it upon FinCom's
Correct.
review and approval. Doug has moved.
Second.
David seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's a 5-0. Okay, so now on 2027's operating budget, where I thought we were before, sorry. FinCom has opined on the 27 operating and capital, so there's no condition required here.
Patrick, maybe give it just a brief, was it like 300,000 I saw reported or something, movement or something like that?
Yes, so I updated this table based on where FinCom was at before they finalized their votes Thursday evening. So there were a couple changes that they made at that meeting I can highlight for you. They removed funding from the police budget and the fire budget for recruitment and entrance exams and promotional exams because there's a consolidated budget amount in HR, seemed duplicative. So those were removed in the amount of $1,500 and $8,500. And they also, we updated the state aid numbers to reflect the House budget on both revenue and expense, so those are up to date. And after a long discussion, they recommended increasing the estimate on the cannabis excise tax to $261,000 from $200,000. So those are the changes that they made that are not reflected in the draft you have here.
So $60,000 bump in revenue?
Yeah.
$10,000 reduction in expense?
So if you include the state aid and
Without
the
the
state
state aid, I was
assessments,
gonna
right?
make that separate, but.
So I'll just summarize high level with all of that. It's $174,000 increase to revenue, $82,500 decrease to expense, and that'll get the anticipated excess levy use down just below 1.5 million.
What is the reasoning for the addition, the increase in revenue?
The cannabis?
Yep.
The cannabis, yeah, so we looked at it, we looked at the trends, the quarterly trends over the last 4 years, how things were coming in. And the trend is up enough that the committee felt that if we could justify the higher estimate, so we used last year's actual as the baseline rather than the 3-year average, which was much lower, because there's been an upward trend.
It's because revenue was high, Marion.
Well,
Here all night, guys.
Nicely played, Phelan, all right.
That's it, I'm going home.
That was your mic drop?
Yep. I'm out. All right, so given that recap, Patrick, thank you.
Yep.
We, FinCom voted to support, so I think appropriate move here would be to take a vote to support the 2027 operating budget as listed in the warrant, Article 4.
So moved.
Can I get a second?
I'll give a second, but I just
You
want
want to discuss something?
yeah, a little
Okay.
bit more. So this chart we had last
That's
time,
the projection,
yeah,
long range.
had the unused levy at I'm pausing here, let's see. When it shows unused excess levy capacity for 2027, that's at the end of the year or beginning of the year?
That's,
Forward.
and that's for FY '27, when we set our tax rate for FY '27. The number in parentheses there, that's the remaining excess levy that gets us through the year, yes. So going into '28, that's what we would have had.
Going into 28, so that's it, that was at negative 2.6 million on here.
Yep,
And didn't you just say 1.5?
1.5. So you may be looking at the iteration of that is the original budget proposal before cuts, right?
I thought this was the one from last meeting.
Been adjusted.
Well, no, but we didn't take out $1 million,
Well,
but,
the 1.5 is the use, so remaining, we would have 2.9 almost,
2.9.
versus what
There
you're
we go.
looking at, that's what it
It's on
is.
there?
2.6,
Oh,
and
so we
they
gained
improved it by
300,000.
300,000.
Yes, there it is.
Okay.
Okay, okay.
Patrick's so good with the maths.
And we're down to average tax bill, do we know that number?
Yep. So the proposal, when it left you, was at $670, average, single-family home tax increase, $670. Now we're at $617, as proposed.
17. That is exclusive of CPA.
Yep.
What is CPA, Doug? Patrick,
What it would be?
what's CPA?
So is that inclusive or exclusive of that?
Exclusive.
It's the change exclusive of like the change in CPI.
Oh, it's the change, because CPA exists currently, so that's
Right.
the change.
So it'd be like another $9.
Okay, got it.
Sure.
So what's really important is that people understand that even though we are not, this is not called an override, we are actually doing an override without asking for permission. And because we have unused levy. So we used our unused levy last year. We're using unused levy this year. And we're probably gonna have to use unused levy next year. But I just don't want people thinking, well, Marblehead has this override, and we are using unused levy, and that's significant.
It's the second year of deficit spending to that point, with more on the horizon. I think that's the cleanest way to describe it.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're benefiting, frankly, from all the hard work that's been done for many, many years, right? The
Yeah.
discipline that went in
discipline.
from prior select boards, prior town administrators, prior finance committees, everybody, really is kind of created this piggy bank, basically, that we're leveraging right now, and we're in so much better shape than so many other towns. So, a lot of thanks and kudos to all of those folks that have created this bridge for us. And I mean, I'm reassured by the fact that at least what I understood the finance committee to say is that they had scrubbed and they felt like this was as far as they thought it was prudent to go at this point. You could always cut more. I mean, we have not, as far as I understand, there's nothing in here cutting actually in any individual position anywhere in government. Is that correct, roughly?
There are positions that existed, so like public safety admin as an example, used to be 2, it's now 1. Public health nurse, it went from full-time to half-time, but the impact is not on an individual that's currently employed, but we have lowered the FTE count.
Okay, from current to this budget proposal.
Correct, from FY '26 to FY '27, yeah.
Okay.
So are there other revenue sources or other
Oh, yeah,
streams
right.
that you would like to mention?
It's like you teed it right up for him, David. Did you guys practice?
No, but I don't think it's going to solve anything right now. But we do keep coming around to this parking thing. And it would be, as much as it's useful for me to say it now, again, it's not going to, I don't think there's any way that it's really going to lead to anything for 2027's budget. But what do we do to make that a live, determined effort to, I think there was a very old parking study, like in 2018, and probably needs to be refreshed, but what do we do to, not only for revenue, but also for just good, healthy, a little bit to Mary Ellen's point earlier about tickets and, making sure that we've got good management of that corridor. We constantly have issues with parking and bottlenecks and everything on Humphrey. We want all this commercial development, but we've got to learn how to manage it. I know we're a town, but there's an element here that we have, it's kind of like a city, especially on Humphrey Street, that we need to think about how that gets managed. And it's nice that I'm just saying it now and leaving it for someone else to figure out, but
No,
I'll be the bad guy if that helps.
Do you want to start a parking committee, Doug, that you'd like to chair?
No.
You've mentioned it before, I'm meeting with Marzi and Ruben to discuss it, both on the enforcement side and then looking at other communities and what they've done. One of the things that Marzi and I discussed, we had a discussion without the sort of enforcement side, is that she really wants to engage some of the business owners that were reaching out to us a little earlier this year on Humphrey Street, so that it is not something that we just say, we think this is a great idea, and don't get their feedback first. So we wanted to include them earlier. So that's an initial step. It's also understanding costs around the parking podiums, because it would be pay and display or like completely web-based, depending on what solution we go with. And then thinking about it from a budgeting standpoint, I think what we would probably end up doing is like a revolving account where we're paying for some capital for, say, the police if they're doing enforcement out of that, as opposed to balancing or using it towards the operating budget, because we, certainly in the first year, but even over time, there may be fluctuations in what we can anticipate in income for that based on economic conditions that are far beyond our control. So we would try to focus it as a way to take some of the pressure off other capital expense in support of that enforcement, both there and to the discussion around Cedar Hill. It would be enforcement townwide on resident parking and other things. It wouldn't be that we only ask for enforcement along that corridor between these two streets. It would be, how can we make this something that, you know, the revenue from paying for parking goes to a place that we can use it, and also encourages or allows for enforcement townwide to help with that circulation and make sure that folks in neighborhoods where resident parking is an issue are also, you know, sort of addressed and supported as well.
Yeah, and I mean, I think we can certainly, you know, while this won't impact the fiscal year 27 budget, having these conversations now teed up over the course of the next 3, 6, 9 months can get us ready for that next cycle, whereby, you know, there may be the opportunity for the town to bring in, you know, some additional revenue, and utilizing that parking study, which, you know, was from 2018, you know, previous business owners on the street had mentioned, you know, a lot of the same things that we're all seeing, which is, you know, the fact that Humphrey Street sometimes is used for long-term parking. Those spaces don't open up. We've heard from Ms. Tapper, who, you know, with the 350 Bakery, who was mentioning that as well. There was just no parking because of snow, and you know, and even with available spaces, it was really difficult. So, you know, we certainly want to hear from our local businesses. But I believe we've already heard from them in previous iterations. So I think it's just updating that information. Now there are some new businesses. Now there are some, you know, potentially some new challenges too. There's going to be a hotel. There's going to be redevelopment, you know, at the Hawthorne site. So I think just making sure we're having these discussions townwide and really doing it in a comprehensive manner is only going to help, you know, benefit the Humphrey Street corridor and the town and the region moving forward. And I think we can generate some revenue and help our local businesses too.
Do you remember what the estimates were when you looked at it?
I think it was a 6-figure amount. It was probably $150,000 to $250,000, depending on which estimates you used, whether it's 6 days or 7 days, how many hours, the models. I've circulated. I can recirculate.
Did that take into account the capital investment, though?
It was the capital investment per Marzi, I believe, was fairly low.
Okay.
If it was all web-based.
Okay. Yeah, I guess 2 things. One, as a commentary to Doug's commentary that we're a town with a city problem, we need to start thinking like we live in a city, and if you could walk there, you got to walk there. Like, we don't have a million places to park. We don't have parking garages because we don't want them.
No.
And so, like, you know, I'm close enough that we walk down to dinner and we walk back, and then we make sure that those spots are open for people who are not close enough. Mm-hmm. So we have to start thinking more like that here in the community. We're only 3 square miles. We have a great walkability. We have a lot of gray areas that can be pedestrian safe, so we should continue to, you know, try to facilitate that and force that as a solution. I'm not sold on parking being paid parking being the right idea. I'm happy to look into it and very glad to see if that does end up being the case. But if we do, can we please get an app that a surrounding town uses? Because like we have like 10 parking apps going on between all the towns, and I mean, I get that it's web-based and you go with what's cheapest, but it's like very annoying to have so many parking apps. Just as a personal aside.
It's the climate action folks that do that. They want to make it really difficult for people to drive and park, so they have to make very different ones for each.
Dangerous.
You know, so just talking about parking, I brought this up with you before. The Monsignor had offered the use, a year ago, a little bit more than a year ago, he offered us to have the use of the parking lot behind the church and over to the east side. And we have parking in the front. We have an agreement with the church to use the parking in the front. And I think we really should look into that and see if it's still open, because that will really help the businesses in that area and possibly some of the neighbors to get some parking in that little spot.
Thank you.
Yeah, people should also be parking at Hawthorne,
For now.
for now. All right, I think we are on to, did we vote? We
There
voted.
was a second.
Oh, there was a second, now we have to vote. Okay, so all in favor of supporting Article 4 of the budget as written in the warrant?
Aye.
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 So I'm a no, and I'm a no because I just can't support the budget with having close to $500,000 sitting in a cushion account with the schools. And that's their term, not my term, but I do support the level of the budget, I just don't support cash sitting in account. So the budget is one thing, but not being able to support the budget with that cash is where I have my problem.
Okay, thank you, Mary Ellen.
You're welcome.
Danielle, did you comment? I didn't hear you. You said you were a yay, yes?
I'm sorry?
You were a yay? I didn't hear.
No, I'm actually abstaining because
Oh,
I had
okay.
asked for a certain piece of this to be broken out so that I didn't, for anyone that doesn't know, my wife is a public school teacher at the middle school, so I wanted the middle school salaries broken out of this so I could abstain from that piece.
Oh,
And so therefore, I wouldn't have to vote on that, and then I could go ahead and vote the overall budget, so I'm going to abstain.
okay. Thank you for clarity.
Sure.
Yep.
So it's a 3-1-1. And whoever speaks to this at town meeting can explain how we got there. Doug, are you offering?
No, won't be there.
Article 5, this is the appropriation for the CPC, the Community Preservation Committee, for fiscal year '27. This has not been voted on by FinCom.
I believe that is correct, right? This is this
Article
Thursday?
5 has not.
Okay.
So we would do this one contingent as well?
Does FinCom really have any say as to how these funds are allocated?
No, and this is
Statutory.
extremely pro forma.
Yeah.
As, just for everyone's elucidation, I suppose. The administrative expenses are as suggested by the Community Preservation Coalition, the group that works with all the different community preservation communities across the state. So that's their assessment of what should be set aside for administrative expenses. And then there's just the very standard 10% set aside for historic, for community housing, and for open space, which each of those amount to $88,750. And then all the rest is basically reserved, the other 70, almost 70%, for other uses TBD in the future as the Community Preservation Committee works through its process. So it's really kind of setting up sub-accounts, with the exception of the administrative expense. Nothing's being spent or recommended for any specific project right now.
And that administrative expense is 5% of anticipated revenue?
That's exactly what it looks like. Yes.
Oh, do you know what happens, and maybe somebody else could speak to this at town meeting, but what happens if they don't spend the full expense? Does it roll into another account?
On admin,
Yeah.
I assume if it rolls forward. I don't think that's a requirement that it's spent. It's just kind of set up as an administrative. So next year, they only spend half of that. Well, then
Yeah.
you wouldn't have to allocate as much.
Okay, so it's not a requirement that 5% gets allocated,
No.
it's just the suggestion right now that we start the account at 5%?
Correct.
Okay, got it. Thank you for the clarity.
True? Fair?
Okay, so if there aren't any more questions, I think that, given that these are highly regulated and part of the what is it, Community Preservation Coalition recommendations, and not really, although money-driven, not FinCom related, I feel comfortable with us taking a stance tonight if people agreed. I would
Agreed.
entertain a motion to approve Article 5.
So moved.
Second.
Any more discussion? No, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, very good. And so we don't all sound schmaltzy at the end, I will again recognize Doug and David for the work on the CPA, and, you know, this is just a small piece of it all coming to fruition, and then from this, we'll be able to actually allocate funds and see action taken, and, you know, that will be in part large part due to the both of you, so I really appreciate that.
Well, it was a harmonious, unanimous effort.
Yep.
Yes.
All right, moving on to Article 6, the revolving fund, amend the general bylaws for the revolving funds. Does anybody want to?
I have a question on this. Is 650 high enough for recreation with the amount of revenue that the new recreation director is bringing in?
So 650 was what we arrived at based on conversations between myself and the rec director. And we got the FY26 limit. We came before you and got that increase through the end of this fiscal year. And we went before FinCom and they also affirmed that. So everyone was comfortable with that level. Recreation's not seeking a higher limit at this time. If for some reason, programming-wise, revenue-wise, a higher limit was justified in the middle of the year, we could do a temporary increase again.
This does not have to be answered tonight, but just with rec and senior center possibly sharing space at Clark, how, like, does the cost sharing work out?
Sure.
Doesn't have to be tonight, but just
That's
wanna-
something that I've spoken to Charlotte about, trying to come up with something that seems reasonable.
Yeah,
As of right now, it looks like there'll be some programming in one space that is dedicated. And so it's a conversation I think she'll have with Heidi or with the future COA director.
okay.
So moved. Recommendation, Article 6.
Support Article 6. Can I get a second?
Second.
This is sponsored by the TA?
This would be contingent.
It should be sponsored by the select board.
It should be sponsored by the select board, yeah. If you wouldn't mind updating that.
Yep.
And this would also be contingent.
Conditions upon the
Yep.
FinCom
Yes.
supporting also. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, 5-0 contingent upon FinCom. Okay, moving on to Article 7. This is roadway improvements. This is a $300,000 appropriation for streets, and this is for highway and traffic safety projects.
We can't name specific streets that we want done in here?
No, Doug, that might not be appropriate,
Okay.
but I think everybody knows your wish. At a section of one of those streets,
Essex Street.
6th Street, which is actually not where you live, so just to be clear.
Threw a curveball there, didn't I?
You did not, never, not in your tenure. Does anybody have questions for the town? This one is also sponsored by the town administrator, but if the select board was supportive, we could say it is sponsored by us. I don't think it has to be sponsored by you, does it, Nick?
No.
No? Speak now. To get a motion?
And
Questions?
just- Why is this, we have money in capital for this too. Why does this happen this way again?
So there's Chapter 90 funding that we received from the state, and that's what this article,
It accepts the money from the state.
That's all it is, except.
yep, it's appropriating the money because that money is subject to vote
Appropriation.
at town meeting, unlike other grants.
So do you want to give them back the money, Doug?
No.
I will entertain a motion then to recommend favorable action on Article 7.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Guys, don't be shy. Now's the time.
I was getting tired.
I know. Article 8, which is the authorization of, to amend the authorization of capital projects.
This was language that we had in previously to reprogram money that had been at,
Placeholder?
yeah, that had been, last year it was the, I think, design for the library and the basement of town hall was moved for borough. So it's a placeholder right now. There may not be anything, like, in fact, at this point, I don't believe there will be anything, but
Okay.
it's a placeholder that was in the warrant going backwards.
Okay, so I guess we'll skip that, and if something decides to
Yep.
take its place, we'll report at town meeting. Article 9, which
Well, at
is.
this point, though, if we're approving
mean,
this
we're-
tonight, that's it, right?
Yep, I guess your point.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, we'll just,
So like, a change would be something like the colored sheets where like a an amendment needs to be done at town meeting where we pass it out. And so, you know, the rose-colored sheet is the amended
So
language.
you're suggesting we keep this Article 8 as a blank?
It's closed, it was closed already with it in there. So yes, I would keep it in there and we can either indefinitely postpone it.
Select board to report at town meeting.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
closed it, yep. So we will just indefinitely postpone it if it has no substance, which currently it does not.
Okay.
You don't like it that way?
No, I think that's the only way we can do it. I just think
No, I mean
in the future, I'd rather not close the warrant until we're finished with everything.
Okay. I think there's benefits to both ways, and post-town meeting, we should talk about the strategy going forward, because it's a little bit more fulfilling now to have certainty and not be rushing to a meeting right before town meeting, which sometimes we have to do, right? So we're forcing ourselves to be a little bit more disciplined. Thank you, Doug, that was the word. Article 9 is for appropriation of 2027 recommended capital projects. Again, this was voted, you're gonna tell me what changed, because I know something did, and then FinCom did vote to support it, so, go ahead, Patrick.
Yes, so there were 2 changes made by Finance Committee on Thursday to the recommended capital plan. One was to remove funding for a design of solar canopy at the high school. And the other change was to remove funding for equipping the middle school and high school gyms with like AV projector screen speakers. So the design for solar canopy was $300,000, $150,000 of which would have been grant funded. And the AV equipment was $200,000.
200,000?
Yeah.
So the recommendation was to give up grant funding? Or to give up matching funds?
They decided not to recommend it with the information they had at their meeting on Thursday, and if other information reveals itself regarding, return on investment, then they would amend their recommendation before town meeting.
And they were aware of our, I believe, 5-0 vote to support it last time?
Patrick cannot opine on what they are actively aware of, but I would assume that since we did
Was
say
it
so in public.
discussed?
I apologize, I did not
Discussed it.
reiterate the board's vote to the committee in our meeting Thursday.
Okay.
On the question of additional information, we met with Max today, and Max has already provided Patrick and I with more information on the time for break even, and with sort of the largest size contiguous considered, and then obviously you could lower the size of the project and still get the Green Communities Climate Leaders money towards it. So we will have more information for them for Thursday. I don't know where, I can't speak on where they'll land, but part of what they asked for was what we sat down with Max about this morning, and he put it together already.
So what's the upshot of that? Does it look as though there's a reasonable return on investment to it, or?
There appears to be a reasonable return on investment that they can share their opinion on whether they.
No, I'm not
agree with
asking
that.
for the finance
Yeah.
committees. I'm just
Yeah, yeah.
asking, like, does the
Yeah.
math? Yeah.
And Max's whole idea was if we start with a project that is of sort of the largest size, discussed with a potential vendor, which was Consigli, were the ones that we talked to a little bit about this. You can then sort of downsize the project, still get a benefit, not as large a benefit, but make sure that the return time is something that sounds reasonable to FinCom and anyone else who would want to opine on it. And so that's the information we want to share with them so that they can make a decision that might be more informed than it would have been last week.
Could somebody just clarify with me, is the grant funding matching, or is it 150,000?
I believe it's up to 150 from Green Communities for technical assistance. And so
But matched,
not
like we have to
require a
spend it?
match.
Oh, okay, great.
I thought it would cost more than that.
Right, so I'm saying like if we downsize the project, then the ask from the town is smaller, but the grant is the same, is all I'm trying to get at.
our request would stay the same, yes. And one of the topics that we talked about with Max was the idea that there were a lot of moving pieces in design beyond simply saying, we want to know where to put conduit and exactly where the footings should be. And so we were trying to narrow what the design would be, and some of it is things that really reasonably could be field engineered. In terms of if there's changes to islands or changes to the front entrance, do we do we need to make changes, or can we just do sort of rip and replace on things that need to be fixed because they're 20-plus years old? So Max was considering that feedback as well as an idea to limit the overall design cost and to focus as much of the design cost as possible on the canopy and less on, you know, where the sidewalk will be when we could have someone field engineer it that's there as a resident engineer for Consigli or whoever we may hire to do the work.
Is there a National Grid element to this project?
From a funding standpoint, not that I'm
No,
currently
not
aware
a
of.
funding standpoint.
That it can be supported?
That, so
Or
we
there's a
have not
grant
had success on solar canopy projects in the past because of National Grid's inability to partner with us to get
Yes.
certain information or certain, I don't know, I'm
To
gonna sound
support the
dumb here
transmission
because I
of-
don't actually, right? So.
Takes a long time.
Yeah, it takes a long time, and we end up getting into this pickle of not being able to execute because of National Grid's stagnation.
As I understand why we landed at this project was the fact that they do have capacity to support it
Okay.
here, whereas the parking canopy would be too much generation at the elementary school. And for approximately 5 years, which in dealing with a utility, it's 5 utility years, which is more years for us. In reality, that they don't anticipate having the ability to handle that generation at that location. Consigli, I believe, has had at least initial conversations on all the locations that we were considering it, and this is one that can be supported. It was also one of the things that Max wanted us to highlight for FinCom, is that without this, we start to get into a very narrow window of things that climate leaders could be put towards in town because of the work that, you know, similar to the excess levy, a lot of work has been done over time with a lot of green communities funding and grid money and everywhere else. So we have a narrow window of potential projects, and this is one of them that would best be suited for that climate leaders money.
And on that front, did we include like 1.6 million in the capital budget last year for the elementary school canopy? There was some
slated.
document I saw where it was in there at one point. Was that part of the final?
It was part of the plan, and it was intended for FY '27, and at the beginning of this process, it came off because of the National
So
Grid.
it wasn't part of the 2026
No.
approved?
No.
Okay.
So I have a question. What happens as we're going through the process with the new solid waste contract and we need to pick up the bill for new bins?
There's a couple different ways you could fund that. You could amend the capital plan and put funding in there, or you could include it in the solid waste operating budget, in the enterprise fund.
I don't see how that number would fit
And
into the,
it's a one-time
into that
cost, so
budget.
you could look at other funding sources such as free cash to cover that budgetary hit.
I think based on our free cash numbers and what the anticipation would be for those bins, I don't think that's an option either. So I actually think that we need to bring this to the attention of the Finance Committee and start to talk about the possibilities. Because I think my concern is if we have to bring on through capital new bins, my worry is how will it affect what we're looking for right now, and especially getting the track repaired.
Wasn't there something about being able to delay? I want to come back to the canopy thing, but wasn't there something about being able to delay they could phase it in?
Yeah, the automation.
The automation for,
We're still at the process, and Mary Ellen, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong from the meeting that occurred last week. There has not been a final recommendation from the Solid Waste Advisory Committee on either of the
Right.
two respondents that we are looking at. So the question of delaying could actually incur additional costs because we're paying additional money for manual. And so the idea would be we'd want to get to fully automatic as quickly as possible to limit that additional expense. Patrick and I did talk a little bit today, Mary Ellen, to the point you're raising about opportunities and ways that we could potentially pay for it. And
Right.
it's certainly a part of any discussion that we need to have going forward. And as soon as we make that final determination, enter into negotiation, we do not want to include the cost as part of the contract because ultimately the vendors make
Right.
some money off that as well. We just
Right.
want to pay for them and get them. And we do have the benefit of the fact we already have the solid waste barrels. It's a recycling thing for right now. So it's a question that we have not yet answered, and we're happy to continue to work with you and report back to the board as we get closer to a final vendor choice and then get through the negotiation process.
I think we just have to really keep all our variables open and know that there's a time issue here.
Well, it would be really helpful if we had known anything about the trash contract or potential before we got to this point, where we're this close to town meeting and the budget. It would have been helpful to know some of this ahead of time, if this is a concern, or where this concern is coming from if Nick is saying there's not at this point, because nothing is really decided. What actually is the situation?
There will be an expense. And
We-
so,
But
ahead.
how much, how we're gonna pay for it, whether it can be delayed, all of that is still undecided.
correct.
Well, they've just answered, the RFP just went out within
I don't think it just
three,
went out.
3 weeks.
A month,
A month
Yeah.
ago?
and the responses came back
The responses are now,
2 weeks,
We've had the responses for
2 weeks.
3 weeks.
3 weeks?
Right, so I don't want to make people fearful of something we haven't even found out yet, right? But, I mean, if there was a conversation to be had before we looked at all of this, before we recommended changes to capital and everything else, I mean, I really think we should have done that weeks ago, if that was such a dire situation.
From my standpoint, with the feedback from Solid Waste Advisory, we meet again on Thursday. I think Patrick and I are more than happy to come to you all with a recommendation that you can thumbs up, thumbs down, tell us to rework things about ways that we're comfortable trying to pay for it,
Yeah,
and we can go from there, if that works.
I kind of have a different question on that. You have the bids.
Correct.
How does that comport with what's here in solid waste enterprise?
It will be higher. It will be slightly higher, and we will have to address that, but we have not, to a point that you made early on, we will enter into negotiations with one of the two vendors. So I would like to be able to have those discussions with them and come to you with a recommendation, as opposed to,
Have
there
them
was
now in
concern at one
Q1.
point that you thought the number I was providing was too high and needed to be lowered in our sort of working document and budget, the proposed budget. So if we could conclude the negotiations and come back to the select board with the number, I think that puts us in the best position to negotiate right now.
Yep.
great.
Okay, can we go back?
Yeah, let's go back to the
Canopy?
canopy. Sure, let's do that.
Okay, I'm gonna, shockingly,
So, sorry, can we, what was the change? Because this doesn't reflect the change, right?
No.
The two changes that were made at
Say-
their meeting Thursday are not
say-
reflected, right?
So what is the solar canopy? They reduced it to what?
They
They
pushed it out.
removed the 300,000.
Oh, they pushed it out. I'm sorry,
Yep.
I apologize. Got so distracted by trash. And what was the second change?
Middle school, high school gym technology upgrade was also removed.
Okay, which is
That's
20.
150,000. I think I said 200 earlier, so I'll correct myself.
And then the one piece that I want to add that we were going to share with finance on Thursday, I spoke to the superintendent today, and based on the broad support for the letter of interest on the MSBA letter, there's 200,000 in here. It's basically to create an additional classroom within the space that exists at the middle school, that he's, hopeful that it's beneficial to the whole community, and making sure that other priorities such as the track and trash and everything else are funded to push that out as well. So that's another 200 that would come off this year.
So that's number
Which one
30,
is that?
39?
It is
Class,
number
middle
39.
school
yes.
classroom.
Middle
So
school
which-
classroom space improvements and needs.
Okay, so it's 33, 39, and what is the one that Patrick is talking about, the secondary one? Oh, technology upgrade.
56.
56, thank you, Jason.
56, yep.
And just to give the full background, the idea with the middle school classroom space is, we're moving forward with MSBA, assuming we continue to move in that process. That to him is a sort of something we would like to do if we don't think we're moving on from that building, whereas the windows are a must,
Yeah,
it's a sort of environment and safety thing for that, whereas this was additional space that they were trying to squeeze out of the building.
Can I ask a question about 63?
63. Sewer main rehabilitation.
So is 63, the $3.5 million, is that for Phase 2B? Or not to be? Is that Phase 2B?
I thought Phase 2B was funded.
I'm not sure. Say for certain.
And is that an SRF loan? 'Cause that's the amounts that we were doing for SRFs.
So the authorization that was made at last town meeting, we are receiving an SRF loan for. So this would be another tranche beyond that. If that helps.
Okay.
So it could be an SRF loan if we applied and were
We have-
accepted, but we
Correct.
would allocate 3.5 million regardless. So it's borrowing, but hopefully through that mechanism.
Yeah,
idea
whether,
would be we would
whether it's an
qualify for
SRF at
another loan.
2% or whether we're going to use our AAA bond rating.
Yep.
Hopefully, it's an SRF loan at 2%.
I'd be happy to get up and diagram.
You didn't bring your markers today.
There's some right there. Just additionally on that, on 63. So let's say this is part of the next phase of work for Stacy's Brook. You know, we heard last week that there were a number of laterals, 500 in total, that were funded and rehabilitated using public dollars. So we had public dollars used for private laterals. Last week, we had asked the town administrator to look into, just how that can be addressed moving forward. Because what we did hear last week was another 400 or 500 laterals could potentially require fixing. And from the conversation that we had last week, it was about $6,000 per lateral. So just the math doesn't really math to me because of this $3.5 million. Potentially, if we're going to continue with what we've done before, which I don't, public benefit or not, I don't think we can just spend public dollars on private property. But how do we pay for this moving forward? Because we don't have the cash, we don't have the money to pay for another 500 laterals and reline all of our sewer pipes that need to be rehabilitated. So I just need to have some understanding here. Otherwise, I can't support that particular line because the town can simply not afford to have to pick up the tab for fixing another 400 or 500 laterals.
Is there a question?
Yeah, the question was, last week, we had asked to see if there was a process by which we would be,
So
you could.
I'm sorry, I was trying to
The betterment.
distinguish which the
That's
question was.
That's
Yeah.
the
So
terminology I was missing.
the betterment is, Patrick walked through sort of the criteria that we need to develop, and it would also, I think, require us coming before this board, and it was not something that we were going to be ready to do,
That was-
10 days after the last discussion, so that the policy decision can be made on whether or not betterment wants to be pursued. And then also, we would provide a recommended criteria and sort of qualification for how we would go about doing it. And so that's something we are more than happy to come back to the board with, and had given sort of the framework of it, that it requires deciding what the criteria are, going through the public process, making sure that the community has an opportunity to weigh in, and then the board makes a policy decision.
Understood, but we're asking to approve $3.5 million, where we've already spent $3 million fixing private laterals. We have another 500 laterals that our DPW director had indicated would also need to be fixed. 500 times $6,000 is $3 million. I can't approve that if we don't have a mechanism where the town can recapture all or a vast majority of those costs. I think it would be fiscally irresponsible for us to do that.
Does town meeting have to vote on a betterment policy?
I believe you do have to identify in advance that you're gonna fund it in that manner, or a portion of a project in that manner. If that answers your question.
So what would it take to be able to put that together for this town
I don't think that this is necessarily something we should rush to do. Happy to sit down with Patrick and get on the phone with our attorneys tomorrow and share that information with all 5 of you and the 2 new folks on Wednesday, to see what would be possible in terms of putting it in this warrant. I think ultimately, this is a relatively big decision to make, based on the fact that we've already done it under the idea that there is a community benefit to it with our effort to get out from under the consent decree and the fact that it's been discussed publicly since 2017. I'm happy to talk to them tomorrow and, again, share a sort of memo to the board as soon as we have information, and then bring it for a public discussion to the next select board meeting as well.
Just for sake of a differing opinion, I don't believe this has been discussed publicly since 2017. I don't believe the Capital Improvement Committee had any idea that these laterals were being fixed, the private laterals were being fixed with public dollars. That would have set off alarm bells for the CIC. I've talked.
Wait, that we've spoken publicly since 2017 about that?
Certainly not with CIC, no.
Well, if CRC is paying attention to any of our meetings, then I think they've heard it, because we've absolutely discussed it in these meetings.
Okay, and just because it's been discussed here doesn't make it, doesn't
Sure, I
provide
mean,
that authorization. That doesn't mean that just because you're saying it and you're putting it out in the open doesn't mean it's right. So again.
No, I'm not opining on its justice. I'm just simply saying that it's not fair to say that we haven't discussed it since 2017, because we absolutely have, and it's come up multiple times in conversation, including when we looked at ARPA funds. So I don't think it's a fair.
Is it the process with which we've decided which laterals to fix that you're questioning?
I think the process that we've decided to fix any of the private laterals, and it's been easy for us to just say, hey, look, we're gonna throw money at this problem. We're gonna have the problem go away, rather than create policy to say, all right, moving forward, which is what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to look backwards, but I think we have to understand what
There's more to
happened,
come.
what happened in the past. We know that there are approximately as many laterals to be fixed as we've already fixed. We generally know what that cost before. There's been escalators since 2017. So we have to assume that that's a $3 million bogey plus cost escalators. So I think it's irresponsible for us to not have that plan. And it would be my recommendation to say, let's put a halt on this until we figure that piece out, rather than rush through town meeting and say, we want to fix this, we want to get out from our consent decree, we're going to spend $3 million fixing this. That doesn't really leave too much money for sewer main rehabilitation, just per the numbers that we heard last week.
I generally agree with David, and while I didn't necessarily expect us to be ready to take a vote today, I did expect that we would have a little bit more information. I know this is unusual, but like, it doesn't even sound like we're 100% clear. I mean, do we label things when we're doing the pipes as sewer main rehabilitation?
Didn't we ask about this?
Because there's actually the main, like, I just want to make sure we're even talking about the same thing here.
So when we're lining the mains.
This
the
is
idea-
that, this is the normal continuation, you're sure about that part?
Yes.
Okay, because Patrick was
Just
understandably.
to know what phase it was.
Yeah,
I don't.
I asked him
I
about the
apologize.
phase.
yeah, okay. I mean,
It-
I'd prefer if we text Gino right now and find out, like, do we have I'm serious.
No,
This is a lot of
I'm
money.
not-
I totally agree with David. It's a lot of money, and we did have this conversation, and we did express the fact that there was at least some of us that had a lot of concern. And so, is it not possible at least to figure out, like, is this money going to be needed within fiscal year '27 to continue with the pipe work that we're doing?
I will just say, without texting him, I would not anticipate Gino would make a request for money that he does not anticipate needing to spend on a project like this. I'm happy to send him a text message and see if we can get an answer. At the same time, I don't know that it's reasonable to expect that he's going to answer me in the next few minutes at 8:45 on
I agree.
a Monday, but I'm happy to ask.
But is there not a different solution? So if we believe that we want to move forward with betterment and that we want to create a policy and process in place, can we preemptively say, because the mechanism right now is borrowing, can we preemptively give it a mechanism of / betterment? And then if a betterment existed, be able to fund it through that way. If not, we would have borrowing available to us. Is that a valid way to solution this problem? Under the impression that we would be basically saying the benefit is preferred, in some instances David is saying conditioned upon, but we need a mechanism for sort of vetting that process and what it looks like and public comment to it before we, and possibly, yeah, I mean, I don't want to delay the funding, and if there's a way around it of just saying like, the commitment of this board is that betterment is the commitment, and we will facilitate that, then is that a way for you two gentlemen to get comfortable with it?
Well, is there any harm in just pushing this out until our fall town meeting, so we have appropriate time to really wrangle this and to get all the information possible?
The one concern I would have with that, and I think Gino did address this when he was here 2 weeks ago, is that the contract needs to be signed at the end of this fiscal year, and we can't sign a contract without funding.
Even though this funding doesn't kick in until next fiscal year?
So July 1st.
Right.
July 1st versus December 7th doesn't, it's something that we need to be able to move forward with this year. I will ask him. I'm happy to move forward in whatever way you all want, but as I recall the conversation, and I'm doing this solely from memory, it was that the SRF funding is something that needs to be in place for and this is related to a previous SRF that has been approved, I believe, that we needed to have that all done in time so that we can immediately go in on July 1st, and pushing it to December then means it's next construction season, not this construction season.
Which could mean increased costs, which could mean other factors.
Well, right, but that's why that's why, you know, I'm sorry to bother anybody, but this is a big dollar amount, and I'm not convinced that this is the money that is actually being used for that immediate July 1 contract. It seems to me that it's a reasonable chance that it's actually, we've already got the money in place for that contract, that this is kind of stocking up for the next one.
Right.
But it's unclear exactly where we're at, frankly, in this whole process to me at the moment. So, but back to your suggestion, Katie,
Yes.
I certainly think that's a reasonable one if it had some teeth to it in a way,
What
right?
would-
Because it's a good start to have
How do we-
/
How do
betterment.
we make it with some teeth to it?
Right. We didn't, I don't think, vote for whatever last time. Go ahead.
So it says the appropriation will be spent over 2 years due to the magnitude of the project on the description here.
What's left
So it's
right now?
3.5 million for 2 fiscal years.
Right.
Right, and when is it needed? Could it wait till,
We're-
could it wait till the fall because we got enough to make it till then or not, whatever, but, sorry, go ahead, Mary.
What do your numbers look like right now, what you're working off of? Because we had ARPA money, we had appropriations, and then we had the SRF loan, right?
For sewer work.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So what does it look like in your detail as far as the money you're working off of now? When do you think this money is going to kick in?
The funding that's in this warrant, I believe, is for the next round of SRF funding. That's my belief. We approved money at last town meeting, and we have a loan commitment in hand from the SRF program
Right.
for that money. So that is my belief. I'm fairly confident in that.
Right, that's what.
So this would be an additional tranche, and we would go for an additional round of funding through the SRF with this authorization on this warrant.
So it sounds like if we were to approve this with the caveat that we want the betterment attached to it, it sounds like we'd have enough time to add the betterment.
Gino said we can make it till December, to your point, Doug, with the money that is currently available. And so that gives us time to do the betterment in
Great.
a broad and public way, and to the point you're making right now, get through to the December town meeting with a betterment process that people can weigh in on and can answer more of the questions that, David, that you have generally about how many to expect and what it will look like.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to stop anything. I'm just trying to make sure that we're strong financial stewards for the town, for the ratepayer, for the taxpayer.
So what does that mean? We don't need to sign any contracts now, or we do approve it now and then say we're gonna do a better?
So are you taking it out?
He said that we can make it to December, so to me, that means we can take this out
And move it to,
with the understanding that we're gonna look at betterment, and we can communicate at town meeting that we anticipate coming with some more information in December and potentially an article that requires appropriation.
And I think betterment means process, understanding the process, right, and making it public.
Yep.
Specifically saying, and I do remember asking this at the last meeting, which have been repaired, what is on the schedule for the next set of repairs, what's the criteria that we utilize to decide what's getting repaired, all of that, which would probably lend some more credibility to the whole thing and resolve some of these questions.
Yeah, I think it's two parts. It's the public information from DPW, what has been done, what will be done, but also walking through the process of what betterment means for the ratepayers that are impacted
Right.
by it, and letting people come and weigh in on that.
Great.
okay, so then the motion I would entertain, if there aren't any additional.
No, there are.
Oh, there are. I'm
Sorry.
sorry, Doug. No,
Yep.
don't apologize. I apologize.
Okay, so we just saved $3.5 million.
Well, we didn't save it. We just moved it, but yes.
David did,
Don't take
actually.
too much credit.
Yeah,
David
David
did
did.
all the legwork there.
Exactly. The 150 and line 56 is coming out.
Yes, that's the
FinCom took that
technology.
out, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Now, you're saying, Nick, that line 39 is also not needed?
Correct, with the understanding that we're pushing it to an out year and see what happens with the letter of interest.
Okay, did FinCom know that? That came
That was
subsequent?
today.
Yep,
And it's
today.
something that I would talk to them about on Thursday.
Okay. So there's, yeah,
Do you want to go back to solar canopy? then?
oh, that's a good idea.
33?
Hadn't thought about that. Yeah, yes, I do.
I
Yes,
knew you
so,
would.
what's that?
I knew you would.
Yeah, yeah, so we've already voted on this, I think, collectively. So,
You want to put it back?
so I
in?
guess, FinCom makes the recommendation, right? So we're not literally changing it, but basically, we're gonna be putting together what our recommendation is, which is their recommendation with the solar canopy money back in, at the net 150 or the 300, as it was. But also with this middle school classroom space taken out,
Yep,
right?
yep,
And the sewer main,
and the gym technology taken out.
I would just like,
they already took that out.
they're pushed,
Oh, sorry.
they're
FinCom.
pushed out in the plan. We're not
Yeah.
just, yeah.
Yep.
For this
They'll be in
year.
the appendix.
not-
but
We're only
not-
voting on
Not
this
on what
year.
we're voting on, they'll be in the appendix.
Yeah.
Yep. So would it not make more sense for us to commit to the discussion right now, but just report at town meeting so that we would be able to explain what exactly we vote to support? Or does it make sense to vote 0 to 5 or whatever the poll is that we do not support the article as written? Like, what's the better optics is what I'm trying to get at. So I think potentially it's better for us to not vote, for us to discuss the strategy, which we will sort of, you will delineate a person outside of your, of you guys leaving to discuss what the conversation was for us here and what we would like to add.
Last year, we had an amendment,
We did.
remember? Because we actually had some differences with the FinCom, and we came forth with an amendment.
We did.
Yeah,
Okay.
so
we
that's
could-
what I'd suggest
Okay,
you all
that's a
would
good
do
idea.
this year as
And
well.
you would do it also if we could vote to do it right now, could we not?
Yes, we could, but I'm talking about literally
Oh,
at that
okay.
meeting, yes. So that's, I guess, where I was going. I was proposing the amendment. Okay? But before we get there, there's one other item I want to make sure we're clear on. So we have the 600,000 here for Burl Street.
Yes.
this is gonna be a separate thing, so I don't think it actually affects but just to give you prep time.
Yep.
Like, there isn't another warrant article in here for that, which we talked about as well. So I'll give both of you some prep time to respond to that as we proceed through this, because now we're on the budget one, but it still seems to me that we were supposed to have another warrant article in here, so we'll come back to that, because I don't think it really affects the budget per se.
I don't
Well, maybe it
follow-
does.
I was gonna say, I don't follow what you're saying, Doug.
Okay, I'm sorry. All right, remember, we've talked about this
Yes.
6 months ago, whatever it was, we voted, we said we're gonna set this up in a separate fund. We had to, I'm sorry, Nick, I know you look exasperated, but I'm a little bit exasperated about it as well.
I'm not
So,
exasperated.
Well, okay, so, you know, we've asked several times for you guys to go back to the minutes and come forth with explicitly and what needed to happen per that vote, and I still have not seen anything telling me exactly what we need to do. You keep coming back saying it needs to go in this capital real estate fund, but that, you've never said is that what we literally voted for? Because we had specific guidance at that point from KP about exactly the mechanism. Is that what you guys found? That was what we needed to do?
So, as I understand it, in the minutes, there is not something reflected to show that there is anything different being done with the money. The approved minutes of the December meetings in 2024. And I believe that was where we were directed to look. Is that accurate as far as the time frame?
We gave you our best guess at that point. If you only
Okay.
looked in
There-
December.
No, there
then-
was a discussion in those meetings about this process but that money goes into a sale of real estate account that can then be appropriated for, first, the cost of the purchase of the land to retire debt, and next, for capital improvements in town. So we have expressed that before. We have reviewed the minutes, and what we found did not redirect, and I'm sorry to exasperate you now. But I'm not sure what more we can do. It is clear, we have talked to the Finance Committee and CIC around the fact that this money, the 600 here, is meant to be, the design money comes from the amendment to the authorization for capital for, as I said, the library and town hall, and then this money would be, for all intents and purposes, reimbursed from the payment that is made upon the CO, I believe, by B'nai B'rith.
Right.
Do we all agree we took a vote about this?
We do. I do. I agree with you.
Yep.
I mean, I know we
In
took
terms
a
of-
vote, I think philosophically, I agree with what you're saying, that the money is going to be utilized for this. I don't remember the exact language being that we were setting up a separate account. I don't recall that being something, but I didn't commit the conditions of the vote to memory, so I don't recall that.
I can't access the 24 meeting, the 24
I do
minutes.
recall it. I do remember hearing and saying that we were setting aside money in a separate account
And we had two
For-
different options, and we
for
chose
89
one
Borough
of
Street.
them.
I do remember that. When that happened, that I'm fuzzy on. I did think it was December.
Well, I think it had to have been, because that's when we voted to support the LDA.
Yeah, I did.
And
I
not
did-
necessarily, just because we didn't reflect it in a certain set of minutes doesn't mean
Well,
it didn't occur, right? I guess.
You watched the meeting?
Yeah, hold on.
Yeah, I did go through the minutes, and I worked with Shannon and Nick on this, and I did watch back some of the meetings as well, where we were talking about Pine Street in those meetings, and I couldn't find language that was said in the meeting to this effect. And I did try to go through it and be, pretty
Diligent.
careful.
Well, I remember us talking about intent, and then the issue was, because I remember the issue was whether or not what we could actually do. We had to look into what we could do, because money has to get appropriated specific ways, that we couldn't just say, okay, it wasn't up to us to be able to just appropriate money the way we wanted to appropriate money, that there were specific ways in which it had to happen. But the intent was to
Yeah, I thought, wait a minute now, I thought that we couldn't bind future boards on, but we gave an intent at the time.
It was intended.
Didn't we say, Doug, does any of this ring a bell? That we, no?
So the question is how we can do that now? Is that what we're,
It's making sure that if the account needs to be created, that it is created so that the payment from B'nai B'rith has a place to go that's not the
Right.
sale of real estate account.
right,
And
But our-
the payment occurs on CO, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
I know I sound like a broken record right now, but we can also address this in December. And all 5 of you can direct us very clearly right now to make sure that we come back to the board, regardless of membership, in June, or, to say like, this is the path going forward. We were incorrect, we were correct, whatever the case may be, after again reviewing the meetings and the minutes to make sure that it reflects the actions that you requested town staff to take. And if it's intent that's important, as opposed to trying to create an account that currently we do not understand being the way to do this, then we will come in and tell you that we were wrong, and this is how we can do it, and we will put it on the warrant for December.
Yeah, I guess a little bit, Doug, if you don't mind clarifying, if we're committing to spend the funds on Burl and making the investment, I'm not really sure if I fully appreciate why the separate fund matters, if the commitment is being made at the capital level by us right now.
Well, I think, obviously, there's a lot of context to this.
I know, and I'm not trying to get
but-
into it all, but I really am trying to,
Right,
I
yeah,
want
no,
to support.
That was a little joke. So we have 600,000.
Yep,
We've set up in a capital plan,
Mm-hmm.
okay? And as Nick just, in some ways, what Nick is saying is making it, all the more reason why we tried to be intentional about this, because he's saying, okay, well, it's gonna go into this, capital fund, and it can be used, the 1.5 million, it can be used for various purposes to improve the real estate of the town or whatever, right? So that clearly doesn't direct it towards this. Yes, there's 600,000 being put aside here, but there were estimates at one point that it was gonna cost 1.2 million to do what needed to be done there, to make that into what needed to happen. So that was the point of all of this, was to say, given the fact that the vets were moving there, we wanted to make sure there was gonna be no short shrifting going on, right? Now, we got this number down to 600, I think there was some process to get it to 600, that was the latest best estimate.
yeah.
But what happens if it's 800,000? Or 1 million? And there's other reasons that, another board comes along, that was the whole point. We'd gone through a contentious, problematic situation, this was part of the resolution to it, and we wanted that money set aside. We all said kumbaya, basically, we want to make sure there's enough money to really do the vets thing there,
Yeah,
right? So,
Yeah.
that's the point of it.
yep, okay. Okay, so having,
so can we take a vote or make a motion that will solidify that intention? I mean,
We have said to Finance Committee, we've said to you all, the idea is that money is repaid to the town by the proceeds. So that it's a short-term borrowing in order to get the work done, if it's 600, or if we needed to come back and say it was a different number. But we would not be rolling this into a long-term debt because we have funds that are imminent,
forthcoming,
but work that needs to be done in advance
right,
of that payment.
right.
So this is sort of that bridge between when the CO is issued and being able to move forward with work, so we are ready
Right,
at the point at which they need a place to be.
Yeah,
right.
In that same vein, I'll just add, I think, no matter what, if funding isn't going to be received until, much later, for any work to occur now, we would have to have a borrowing authorization from town meeting to incur an obligation.
right.
Totally,
which is why it's in here to begin
but
with.
it's only
I think,
600,000. What if we need more?
We could the board could recommend more as part of the article.
With other amendments being made, that could be something that you all could decide to adjust as well.
I think nobody is doubting the philosophy behind it, Doug, and we are all still standing here today with the same commitment. It is just the mechanism by which that commitment solidifies this board's commitment to do that. So, like, I will just come out and say, if it's $1 million, like, it's $1 million, and we come forward and I will champion $1 million just as if you and David were here. I know that's like not good enough for what you're asking right now, and you want something concrete to hold.
Well, I think we all made that promise, right? I don't think we picked 600,000. I remember I said at that time, you know, whatever it was going to take to do right by the veterans.
Right.
I know I said that. So I stand firm in that belief. And, you know, and I understand your want to codify it or document it, considering, you know, this is your last meeting. I totally understand it. I get it. I agree with it. I'm with you, you know. So if there's some motion we can make tonight that solidifies that, you know, we're earmarking this money for, you know, upon the CO of that 600,000 and as much as necessary, whatever we need to say. I mean, I understand exactly where you're coming from. And I do think we did at the last meeting ask specifically, I think it was from Tom McInerney maybe, to get some clarification on it, so I understand the frustration. You know, and I think time is of the essence too, right? So this is the last meeting for you guys, and you want to see this done and done the right way, because it was important to both of you. And as it is to the rest of us too, but it was a contentious situation, and we just want it handled the right way, so I get it.
It was contentious.
So, I mean, here's the conundrum we're in, right? Because like, if we don't vote on all of the articles, we're sort of in this, your signatures get electronically fixed, and we then report it to town meeting for some of them, which are not them, right? So I think that's the part Nick was trying to avoid. And so we are, you know, voting now so that you two are at the table. So there is, like, we are understanding of that being valuable after your commitments to the town, so.
So do you want to amend that dollar amount, Doug?
Sorry.
That's okay.
Where did the 600 number come from? Was that from Max saying?
Max, Marzi, the veterans
Right,
all met
so they're saying
together.
this is what we're gonna need to get this rolling.
And that has been on the plan.
Okay. But to that point, we all know that some of the numbers on this plan are not quite accurate, so I understand the caution, you know, of it really being 600,000, right? When we've still got 2 million for Hawthorne's demolition in here, so how solid is that number? Right?
Yeah, I think originally it was much higher because it was unclear if they were just using the ground floor, if they were using other floors. There was talk of an elevator, there was talk of a lot of things that inflated
Right.
that number to close to 1.2 million in the heated conversations originally. And then once we sort of got over the hump, we came back around with clearer heads and came to this number. I think it's,
I mean, do we commit to a minimum of 600,000? Is that?
Well, that, we'd need to
You need
have
to give
them
a number.
a high end, really, not the floor.
Yeah.
Not the low end.
This is to make that, the ground level entrance in that space,
accessible.
whatever we come
Yeah.
up with them, it's accessible, but also making the improvements to that space that they want. This does not add an elevator.
Right.
Or there are other pieces that in the future I think would be great and beneficial both to the veterans community, but the larger community, if we did make those improvements to sort of unlock the whole building to myriad uses.
Yep.
This is to make sure that there is a space that is akin to the canteen
Yep.
that's
and
available.
immediately available post relocation.
Right, when we're asking them to leave, that we're ready for them to have someplace to go.
So does this also include any systems improvements? Because I do recall having toured the building that I believe there was a need for a roof. I believe there was a need for electrical, a new electrical system. I just want to make sure that this $600,000 not only fixes, you know, I guess, brings the canteen from Pine Street to Burrell Street, but also gets us to a CO, gets us to a building that is up to,
I'm
is up to code.
I'm
Yeah, this
certainly
includes-
confident that what Max put together gives us what we need to get a CO, for sure. I know wiring throughout the building would be an issue, but if the demand on that wiring and the demand on the usage in the building will be focused on that ground level, I assume, without having Max here answer the question directly, that it includes system improvements in the space that will be used. I don't know that it means that we're gonna rewire the whole building for future potential uses. But I know he said that is part of the concern throughout, that as we add something like an elevator, and look at potential uses for up
The
the
second,
stairs and the
third,
second
yeah.
floor, I don't know,
The
second,
ballroom.
third, first, second, that there are other improvements that certainly would need to be made overall to, again, unlock the whole building, as opposed to making sure that they have a space that's reasonably suited, that they help us design, and ready to go when they need it.
So I'm just looking back at minutes. I actually don't think it happened in December, because that's when we took the very contentious vote. I don't think this happened at that same time. I think this happened a couple months later, actually. We kind of came back around to a resolution. So I would ask you to kind of look at the minutes. And the only reason I'm harping on this is because we spent a fair amount of time kind of with KP and everything, trying to figure out like what the right language was. So we can recreate the wheel here, but it's there somewhere. Either that or I'm totally losing my mind. But
sure you're not.
I think we definitely, I can remember very clearly, sorry I didn't go hunting for it. I can do that tonight or whatever, but, so. So I have to apologize also because I wasn't completely listening to the conversation, so I don't know where we're at.
So we will go forward in additional months to look and identify it.
Yeah.
To the point that was raised earlier, are you comfortable, the CO will not be issued before December. So would you be comfortable with us continuing to explore that to make sure that if there was exact language that we did not yet identify, that we can address that, bring it to the board as it's composed in the future, and say that
To fall town meeting.
for the fall town meeting, we want an article to address this request that was made early in '25, is what I'm getting.
Yeah.
To make sure that we reflect that discussion by the board, and obviously 3 of the members will still be the same, and I think you all have made very clear what your opinions are, and hopefully future composition of the board would be willing to, you can't bind them, but certainly be willing to support something like this, because it's to make right
Yeah.
Right.
the change in the conditions for the veterans, which was also something that's meant to increase housing. Like, there's a lot of
Yep.
competing but forward-looking priorities altogether here that we would ask for that article to be in December, if that's okay.
Yep. It's gonna have to be right now. And what did you guys resolve on whether or not the 600,000 is enough for now, or how to approach that?
That was still open.
That's still open, okay. So what do you all think we should do in that regard? Maybe, do we have any sense, because you could say the same thing about if there's a need for additional funding, you take that up in the fall as well. Right, so, but I assume this
I
number
think
didn't
there
come out of
might-
thin air. I mean, this was a revised
It's
estimate.
from the efforts of Max and Marzi talking to the veterans prior to my beginning, and then also having met there a couple times with them since. And to Patrick's point, it's been a number, I'm accepting for Danielle's point about demolition, that some things are not maybe perfectly accurate. This has been on there for a couple of years. There might be a utility, instead of waiting for the fall to, again, raise the ceiling with the idea that we're gonna keep it as economical as possible. If you all think that there is a real expectation that it's gonna be over 600, despite the fact that we put this together.
I think we have no way to know. We truly don't at this point, right? We have no concept of plan, what specifically scope. I mean, we really have no way to know.
And my experience in the last 7 months with Max is that he kind of thinks that way, so that he's not saying 600 knowing that we're gonna be at 599 and we'll be fine. He tries to
Yeah.
be reasonable about the fact that
Oh,
there
I
needs
trust
to be
Max. Mhm.
a contingency for things that are unforeseen. But, if we're putting out the sewer rehab, at least until December, if not beyond. If there's other things that are coming off,
Right, you would
there
potentially
could
have more
potentially
room.
be an opportunity where you can say there's some breathing room that we're creating with our amendments, that we would like to raise this so that we make sure that all the funds necessary are available.
That makes sense.
Sounds good.
Okay, so move this to what, 1 million?
I'll support that.
Is that what I mean, it's like, we're kind of throwing a dart here.
I know,
when
I
you
mean,
said-
I
When you
just-
said it sounds good, Mary Ellen, what were you saying?
Well, we have a recommendation from our facility director, so I'm pretty good with that recommendation from the facility director. If there has to be a change made or an addition at a later time,
Okay.
make a change or an addition later time, I mean.
And again, I apologize if you guys just talked about this. So the estimate here, because on one hand, I'm hearing this number had been around for a while. On the other hand, I'm hearing, was this a fresh estimate for everything that needs to be done to meet the needs of the veterans? That's what landed us
Is it
at
a written
600,000?
For this?
We wouldn't have a written estimate because we haven't had a contractor come in. It's an informed suggestion from our facilities director based on what they've been talking about going back, which is that ground floor space being, renovated, for lack of a better phrase, to meet the needs as they've been described, and make sure that there's space that's available. I can't, beyond the fact that Max has put this together, I can't add a lot of color to how accurate it is. As I said, I do trust when he puts together a price like this because, even when we were talking today about the design of the parking lot and the solar canopy and things like that, he was saying like, that's something I considered. That's something I talked to Consigli about. He is very thoughtful about putting these together. I do not believe, you said we're kind of throwing a dart. I feel like if I give you a number that's not the one that he's put together in a reasonable way and then present it to us and CIC, that I'm also throwing a dart and not really helping you all at all.
Yep, that's fair.
And my only question is not at all about an estimate that Max does, but it's more in the conversation. Is there any possibility that there's daylight in the conversations between Max or Marzi and the vets and everything in terms of how much they're really taking into consideration, and whether or not something's being made handicap accessible, or the elevator, or this, or that, and, like, whose version of, like, what the estimate was supposed to be about? Is that completely, and given this whole situation, from the beginning, in a way, it would be nicer if it was perfectly clear, obviously.
So what is the suggested solution, Doug? Is everyone's behind you and everybody wants to see that you're satisfied because we've all committed to this and we all continue to commit to it? So, I know we're putting it on you, but
Well, I have a recommendation. Why don't we leave it at the 600? Have Max give us an update by the next meeting, and if we have to make an adjustment, make an adjustment or an amendment on the floor to increase it to where we're gonna need to be. And then we're gonna have to be prepared for, in the future, for possible more adjustments. And we also have Marzi applying for disability grants, which she feels pretty confident we're gonna be able to get. So it's a work in progress. But I think if we agree to this amount and then follow up with Max, make an adjustment if we have to make an adjustment, would that work for you?
That sounds good.
okay.
Okay. So,
So who's, so we're gonna,
I'm gonna make a motion for an
Okay, great.
amendment
I wanna
on
hear
the
it.
budget, right?
are you drafting said amendment?
Yes, right
Okay.
now. Here it comes. Okay.
You ready, Shannon?
So I move that we amend the Finance Committee approved capital budget in the following ways. That in item 11, we are approving $600,000 contingent on a revalidation of that amount by the town administrator and staff, that it will be sufficient to meet the full needs of the veterans.
So if that condition is met, then no such amendment would be made on town meeting floor.
Correct, we're
I just wanna make
concurring, we're
sure.
concurring with the 600,
Yep.
contingent on the fact that it.
I'm just
fully-
asking for clarity, so we, on
So-
May 18th, do exactly what we commit to.
Can I just ask, are you drafting here the amendment that you want for town meeting?
Yes.
So that will already have happened or
That
not
will already
happened by
have
then?
happened, that's why I was clarifying also, so. if it-
Assuming Max comes in and says it's 750 or it's 600,
then
your
that-
amendment is the number that Max says is appropriate, right?
Okay, you want me to
No,
refund
no,
it?
no, we're just,
No, I'm just clarifying so that,
Clarification on that.
yeah.
Yep,
okay.
So it is either 600 if confirmed, or the number by which Max confirms.
Or why?
Yep.
Correct.
Why? Yep,
do you
we got
understand that? Okay, got it, all right. Okay. On line 39, we are removing this for this year.
Pushing it to an out
Pushing
year.
to an out year.
Yep. On line 56,
We are,
actually, we're concurring with the Finance Committee on that, so there's no amendment to that. They've already struck that.
not the they,
No, he's talking about 56, which is the tech,
oh, the 56.
tech improvements
Okay,
in
yes,
the
This is part of FinCom.
gym,
Yep, you got it,
right?
sorry.
We are removing for now line 63,
Pushing to December.
pushing to December, subject to further discussion about betterments.
We have to add back in 30.
And on line 33,
God bless you.
we are recommending the 300,000 with the 150,000 coming from a grant. Ideally, the first 150,000 comes from a grant.
which is how Max described it this
Yeah.
morning.
Right.
Especially as we started to narrow what design meant in the case of this project.
Right.
So it's line 33?
Add back.
Yep. That's all.
That's it?
Second.
Okay, so all in favor of voting to support the amendment as proposed by the vice chair?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, great.
Katie, did you vote?
I did, I said aye.
Doug.
Doug, sorry. Doug made the motion. Vice chair. Danielle seconded. Just to be fairly clear, I am an aye for Doug. Okay, Article 10, we already voted on.
Yep.
Article 11 is the prohibiting the use of anticoagulant rodenticides on town property.
And so just,
So this-
that's listed twice because
Yep.
Right.
We
can't,
Removed.
correct,
Get removed
on the
from
floor, correct.
So we will, so this will be,
I think David has a question.
sorry.
No, I was
So
just.
this will be as proposed by the select board, and then we will invite the citizen to indefinitely postpone the citizen's petition.
Correct.
Correct, okay, so,
It's 11 and 12 then.
so for 11, I will entertain a motion to support Article 11.
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All, discussion, or we can move on?
Aye.
All in favor? Aye. Danielle says aye.
What did I say?
We're all an aye. Okay, so the citizens petition, we don't opine on right now, but the idea would be that because we will hopefully have passed it as Article 11, Article 12 would be indefinitely postponed. Article 13 is also a citizens petition. I just want to say, because publicly, for whomever is listening and whoever might read the minutes, just a clarification on citizens petition. I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir here, but Doug and I had a resident who was quite perturbed that we were focused on foie gras and not other more pressing town matters. Citizens petitions are a matter of democracy, and any citizen can get enough petitioners to agree with them to put something on the warrant. Although it is our warrant, it is a mechanism of democracy. So these are, we don't take a position on these. Citizen comes forward and, at the will of town meeting, tries to get them passed, so.
So for the public, it's 10 signatures to get on?
Yes.
Yeah, 10
And-
signatures to get on the warrant
Up until the third week of February, or second week of February?
for this
Yeah,
meeting.
so going forward, we will, my hope and sincere wish is that the opening and closing will happen far in advance in the way it does in some other communities, so that there's plenty of time for discussion and folks are well aware. But yes, it is, I believe, the second week in February.
Right.
We'll be sharing a timeline in June for when they're due for the December town meeting as well. Katie's going to come to a meeting in June to walk through the process. It will also be 10 signatures for the fall town meeting because they're both annual at this point. It used to be that it was 10 for annual and I think 200 or 250 even for a special town meeting. So this is something that I think we can look forward to for all town meetings going forward, and we'll be able to share that timeline immediately following every town meeting going forward.
Okay. Also, Article 14, the citizens petition, which restricts open wood fires in the town of Swampscott. We've already, even though we don't opine on it, we've already given our feelings on that. And then that brings us to the end of the warrant. Okay, so we have to vote to, we do? Wait, we have to vote to agree to
Electronically affix your
electronically
signatures.
sign, so that y'all don't have to show up to Shannon's office tomorrow to sign it. So I will take a motion to allow your name to be affixed to the warrant.
Motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. So now that we have the ability to do that, the next item will be for us to go through post-election to determine who will speak at town meeting. And I nominate Doug for all articles.
Do we need to do that
Second.
tonight?
No, we don't need to do that tonight,
Oh, okay.
because there'll be more people actually. Although I think the women will be doing the yeoman's work since they will have just got here. I mean, hopefully some of them will.
It's
I
always the way,
nominate Doug
isn't it?
still.
Doug, I won't argue with that. All right, we are gonna go back to the lease, because we skipped over that. So
So-
going, yes, please.
Do you want me to just?
I do.
speak?
I
Okay,
would love
so
it.
there was back and forth last week about insurances. The final draft got to the proponents at 12:42 today. So I just want to highlight things in here that were, sort of either changes or things that were open in the draft that originally went out as part of the electronic document. One is section 7.3, which is extraordinary repairs.
Just 1 second, let me just, can you say that again, Nick?
Section 7.3, extraordinary repairs, is one I wanted to highlight.
So this is the differences between the form lease that was attached to the RFP versus what was negotiated.
And so on extraordinary repairs, there was a question around if a repair, knowing that we have said explicitly there will not be capital money spent by the town, was there an opportunity to say, acknowledging sort of the condition of the property, that is there a number at which we could enter into discussion, whether it's around abatement or even to terminate if it's near the end of the lease? If
Can you say that again? What
Sure.
number you're looking for?
7.3,
7.3 in
page
the
7.
document.
Thank you. Yep.
So the number that we landed on was if a repair, an estimate that they provide to us for a repair that's beyond $30,000, there's an opportunity to have a discussion around potential abatements, but also if it's in the back end of the lease and there would not be an opportunity to make up that difference in any way, that there is the opportunity to have a discussion between the town and the proponent to say, we will mutually agree to terminate. And this is, again, an acknowledgement of the fact that we are very clear that we are not spending any dollars. And also, just to be reasonable to someone that's coming into a space and understanding some of the risks that they're taking on, especially as you get to the end of a short-term agreement like that.
Where does it say the end?
7.3,
At the end,
page 7.
Where does it say when the end of the lease?
the sole remedy in the case of extraordinary repair being required at the premises shall be to terminate this lease by giving written notice to the town. Is that what you mean?
No, I
Sorry.
was understanding, Nick, to say that this only would pertain if it was towards the end of the lease.
That was,
No.
That's his editorial.
that's the editorial comment. It's the idea that if there was an extraordinary repair that's necessary in the last 2, 3, 6 months that exceeds this number, that we're not going to hold them to continue to operate when we're saying we will not fix it.
Okay, but the way this reads, doesn't this give them that out
Yes,
anytime during the
Correct.
lease?
it's not limited to a time frame. I mean, the whole lease term is only
26 months?
I believe it's
26,
yeah.
25 months at this point.
Decreasing.
Okay, but so 3 months from now, they could be in there and there could be a big issue that happens and they could say, never mind, I want to get out?
So long as it's over $30,000.
Okay, but that was not in the RFP.
No, it was not in the RFP. It was a discussion that we had as part of the negotiation.
But what was in the RFP and what we've discussed publicly is that we are not going to capitally improve
Right,
any of the property, right? And so, like, they want to cap their liability.
No.
Well, then the answer is, then they don't enter into a lease. I mean, potentially, right? I'm
Well,
not
is
the one
that, I mean,
doing
is
the
that the
negotiation.
deal
Yeah,
breaker? Is
yeah.
that what? I mean, this is.
Is it
this gives
something
them-
they're insisting on?
Yes. And they had requested a lower number. We started at a higher number. This is closer to our number than theirs. They're moving into a space that, you know,
We all acknowledge has.
we acknowledge the condition.
But that's just the
Exactly.
point, but everyone's known
We
that all
said as
along.
is.
30,000 seems pretty low. I mean, I think anyone that heard about the place would guess, that seems like a pretty high likelihood that something for $30,000 is gonna happen there.
I don't know that,
Well, I think this is, sorry, Nick.
no, go ahead.
I said it says, so this, it shall not include ordinary or normal day-to-day maintenance or repair or upkeep to any work that is necessary as a result of, like, them operating the premises. So it's not just like the HVAC works on day one and then it stops working, 6 months in. It is like the roof collapses.
Can we stop using that as an example?
I mean, we could, but I mean, what do you want to,
No, I'm being facetious.
like, say I think it's meant for an extraordinary repair, not the maintenance, day-to-day maintenance of,
But what does normal day-to-day maintenance mean? I mean, how do you qualify that? That could be anything, right? I mean, if the HVAC goes in the middle of summer and nobody wants to go in there because it's 100 degrees, does that fall into that category? Or no? Does it have to be the roof falling? Like, what kind of parameters do we have? It's just day-to-day maintenance? What does that mean? To me, I mean, that's how I'm reading it. That is necessary? I mean, any repair work or upkeep that is necessary? I mean, we said as is. To me, that is it. I'm not comfortable with this at all. It gives them an out. It gives them a big out. And then if that does happen in a month or 2 months, then we did all of this work for absolutely nothing.
But if we don't sign the lease, we've done all this work for nothing.
But I don't
Yeah,
think that's,
but-
I don't think that's the intent here. I think the intent is to make a sound business agreement that benefits both this company and the town.
I'm not looking to benefit this company. I'm not, to be quite honest. I'm looking for the best interest of this town. And I am not so sure that any agreement is in the best interest of this town,
So
personally.
what are the monetary benefits of this agreement?
rent.
Rent,
What are- what are-
rent,
what are the
utilities,
dollars? Right, so we're
property
looking at-
tax,
So $300,000.
Well, $10,000 a month.
$10,000 a
10,000 a
month.
month.
Okay,
So we're down to 26
So
months.
26,
Yeah.
So
So-
260,
correct.
Covering,
if it goes that long.
Plus
covering the
insurance
util-
coverage.
covering the utilities.
Utilities,
So what's the savings annually for utilities?
I want to say it's like 120
100.
is the, or
So the
between
carrying
100
is
120,
What did you say? Sorry.
between 100 and 120.
Okay, so
Okay.
let's say 100, let's lowball it.
And the insurance.
So 260, 100, and insurance is always hard to like carve out because what does it cost us to insure one vacant property?
So they will carry the liability insurance, same as
Anthony?
Hawthorne.
Yeah.
Thank you. And we will still carry property insurance as we did with Hawthorne,
But it will be less because it will not be vacant.
correct?
So there is some sort of savings there that's not maybe directly quantifiable. So it's $360,000 plus. Are they paying?
Property tax?
Property tax?
Yes, it's triple net, yes.
So wait, if
Well,
it's triple net, why are we paying for insurance again? Aren't they,
We're gonna
Our
carry
carrier,
them.
we ran this language by our carrier.
Mm-hmm.
They provided their opinions, KP provided their opinions. Just as we did with Anthony's, we will be carrying the property insurance. And we asked our, excuse, I didn't hear.
Okay.
I think that's common even in triple net leases. I mean, I can only speak from
Generally is.
my own personal commercial experience, and I am not opining on the law right now, but I find it to be common that we would still carry insurance even if the tenant was required to carry insurance. So you're looking at a benefit of 360 plus whatever the projected property property taxes, which is,
I think the property taxes were 153?
It's very specific.
I know, I don't know.
153,000?
Trying to look it up.
Thank you, Patrick.
I don't recall.
So that would be 26 months of that is times
Backing into it,
2
that's right.
plus a little, so 153, so now we're like 266 on top of the 360. So the benefit to the town is 360 and 266. I'm an attorney, but my math says
622.
622-ish. If that number is accurate.
So it's not triple net, is what you're saying.
And that doesn't include
Food and beverage.
food and beverage, which,
Yeah, I mean, we can't,
you know,
we have no projections to
idea.
presuppose that
We have
those
no
numbers. We
idea.
have no idea
Right.
if they even open their door, but this is
Right.
what they're committed to monetarily supporting the town.
But they're not if we look at that provision of 7.3 and none of that comes to fruition, right?
The property tax was running about 150, so you're right.
150.
not 53, 153?
Well, I'm rounding.
Approximate.
12.5 a month.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Well, just, Danielle, just to make sure, right? I mean, I share your concern about this, obviously, but it's not like they can just jump out for any reason, right? They've got to document that something in the right category costs at least $30,000 to give them the right to do this.
Which would not be hard to do with that building. I mean, let's be realistic, right? Could probably get any person that is a contractor to go in there and tell you there's 30,000 plus of necessary repair. I mean, let's just be honest. But, yeah, to your point, Doug, they need to have that.
I suppose one little word in here that, you know, I don't know what you've talked with them, just the word upkeep. Like, that seems like a hole you could kind of drive a truck through in a way, like if you all of a sudden want to get out of this, like,
Well, this is shall not include ordinary wear and tear or any repair or upkeep, so that's in our favor.
Yeah.
The language was drafted by our attorney with the number being what was negotiated.
But that upkeep
Okay.
works in our favor, so we would
Okay.
want to keep that. And I would assume what the argument would be for upkeep is when they entered the building in the as-is condition, that they then take on the responsibility of upkeep for it in its as-is condition. So,
is that true? Like, we're starting with the way it is today. They've accepted the way it is today.
The lease says as is.
there's a rep and warranty that says that, so.
So, Mr. Town Administrator, if we approve this tonight, this would go into effect 5/1 tomorrow? When would the town start collecting?
I think if it was approved, it would be subject to their signing first, number one, obviously. But, you know, as soon as we can come to a conclusion. So 5/1 is Monday, Saturday? Like,
No, I mean,
it would literally.
this week?
It would be as soon as possible, yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
I mean, I have said this from the beginning. I'm sorry, did you want to make any other points about that? Just that one provision you brought up, but what,
No.
are there other red lines?
No, the other, it's, David mentioned it, one is the 10,000 a month, which would be 260. It's
Yeah.
not,
upfront 300,000.
Right, it wasn't the
Yeah.
300 upfront. And then just highlighting, like I said, the insurance, the real one was liquor liability, it's in here now.
Yep,
Um,
okay.
Waiting for final feedback.
I mean, Danielle, I 100% hear you. I acknowledge that I hear you, but I am still of the position if we have to try. And I know there is nobody else on this board who is more committed to getting a RFP out for the Hawthorne property in its permanent condition than you. So, I mean, I think
I've said it a million times.
the two coupled together mean that we are putting ourselves in the best potential financial position. True, there are outs, there are always contractual outs. Yes, they're, given the condition of the building, there may be, I understand that you're less comfortable, but we have to be realistic about the product we're marketing.
Well, and also, now that I read this a little bit more carefully, you know, the interplay between 7.3 and 7.1, right? I mean, if I'm reading it correctly, which I seem to have made a couple mistakes tonight, that it's in 7.1 detailing all the things that they are responsible for doing, right? So it's saying that this $30,000 has got to be above and beyond these types of things that are in 7.1. Is that correct?
Which includes.
Okay, that's a lot of stuff.
lot of stuff.
Yeah. It's includes building exterior, the roof, framing, floor slabs, exterior walls, foundation, mechanical system. So all those things, problems with those don't count towards the 30,000?
Where does it say that?
That's what I'm asking.
No, it doesn't.
That's, okay.
It doesn't. No, it includes that. It's not exclusive of that, because it says, in the event of an extraordinary repair or replacement, in the event an extraordinary repair or replacement is required to maintain the premises in the condition required under section 7.1.
Okay.
So it's not exclusive of it, it's inclusive of that. So this is what your obligations are. And
And then on top of that is what it's
Okay.
saying.
yes, so I don't want you to not believe, I don't
Yeah,
want you to
I get
believe
it.
what you just said, because I don't think it's accurate,
Yep.
even though it helps
I get it, yep.
get it across the finish line.
Yep, yep.
How do we deal with this quiet enjoyment?
Quiet enjoyment is a very standard provision in commercial leases. It's like a legal vetted term. It's not,
So if this facility has musical acts,
it's,
does that cover that, the neighbors that are surrounding
sorry, what section is it? I can look at our
12-2?
language. 4.2?
12-2?
Oh, 12.2. I would assume it's a normal. It's really our interference in the lease. It is not,
Right, so it
we
doesn't
will not
really-
interfere in the lessee's usage, not that the lessee is actually gonna be quiet.
Right.
It's like
Right, so it means they can
So
pretty
we'll be
much,
quiet?
so we won't interfere with their use.
so they're allowed to have music and whatever
Yeah,
is
yeah,
happening
yeah.
there.
Actually, has nothing,
And there's nothing we can do about it, pretty much, right?
so long as they're within the parameters, what you would look to for something like that, Danielle, is the use provision. If there's any limitations on the use provision, would allow the landlord the ability to say, and the permitted use is 5.1, and it's a restaurant and hospitality venue,
Right.
and it says, in no event shall the premises be used for any other permitted use. So that, so long as it's in restaurant and hospitality venue, then that's,
But that doesn't mean people can do whatever they want. I mean, we've had.
Well, I'm
yeah,
thinking of
right.
how we have people here
and that
complaining
limits
about
their use to.
Little G
Right.
with their music, right, for people across the street. So
There
are we gonna
must
run
be
into a similar
a-
situation?
Now, there's a compliance of law provision in section 5.3, in which the lessee acknowledges that they should use and maintain the premises in compliance with all applicable laws, which would include any noise ordinances or anything like that.
That's 5.2 probably, town
We
rules
have
and
to issue an
regulations.
entertainment license and a liquor
There you
license.
go.
Correct.
So there we
Oh,
are.
that's another.
And they'll
bonus.
still be coming before you all
We can take care of
for
that.
that, similar to how you did it with Little G, where that was the
We
opportunity to
limited the
have
time.
some leverage over times and
Right.
use.
Right, but that was someone that's been there for how many years, and this is an unknown, right? So we're not gonna really know what we're approving or allowing.
Right, but we do know what we've done with other places in that area.
Yeah, we just don't know what exactly is planned for this.
Yeah.
We have no idea.
I'm prepared to support the lease as proposed.
Do you want to make a motion to do so, Doug?
I make a motion to approve the lease as proposed, subject to the lessee signing first.
Second.
Any additional commentary, questions? Seeing none. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Abstaining? David?
Oh, I'm in favor, I'm sorry.
You're in favor. Okay, so it's 4-1.
Oh, no, I was aye.
Oh, you were aye? Sorry, I thought you were no. I apologize.
No.
'Cause it was delayed.
Late arrivals.
5-0. So we are unanimous to support the lease, which is fantastic. And you, Doug and David won't enjoy this, but Danielle and I, because you'll be gone, but Danielle and I will, hopefully be on an agenda very soon to talk about a long-term RFP for Hawthorne. So we can live up to the promise that this is temporary and that we're taking action.
Yes, we are.
Okay, so that concludes new and old business. The consent agenda, the request was made to move March 2nd and March 18 minutes. So we will only be approving April 8th. And I have also been requested to remove the hawker and peddler's license for 3 Joseph Sanchez, DBA Jane Austen's. So I will entertain, so long as there's no additional amendments to the consent agenda, I will remove those 2 and take a motion to approve the consent agenda. We will take the removals up separately.
What is the procurement policy? Environmentally preferred procurement policy?
The approval of the Town of Swampscott's environmental preferred procurement policy by
The last page.
recycled policy.
Yes.
You wanna talk about that?
To be honest, I had not looked at this carefully. This is,
Who created this?
Order.
okay.
Thank you.
It's from Jeff. It's just updated, I think they had a different name, it said formerly by recycled policy.
Oh, so we're
it's just a
updating our
different-
formerly by recycled policy, which is what it exists as today, to become the Town of Swampscott environmentally preferred procurement policy.
Correct.
Is that
maybe
the
we
only
can-
thing that's changing there?
Yeah, I think maybe we remove this and just do a red line
Yeah.
from the prior
We will,
policy,
yeah.
and we'll put it on the next agenda. That way we ensure that we understand what is being changed.
Right.
Okay, so we're going to, now, the consent agenda as amended is the minutes from April 8th, number 2 for the peddler's license, number 4, and 5. And then we will take 6 at another time, and we'll talk about 3 after we approve the consent agenda.
Okay.
Make
Motion
that-
to approve the consent agenda
Okay,
as amended.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so the minutes, we just have some updates to make to them, so, they're gonna move on to the following agenda, and 6 will move on to the following agenda, but Mary Ellen had requested 3 come out, if you wanna just explain.
So 3, I was just looking at this, and it said here, it says here, temporary food establishment selling tacos and maybe T-shirts at Fisherman's Beach. And I think my concern is, where at Fisherman's Beach, what does this mean? Does this mean that people are gonna set up stands? And we have,
It also says Iceman's Beach.
right, so this is on public property. Are they paying for the public property? What's the plan? What does it look like? And my concern also is that we have a restaurant across the street from Fisherman's Beach and down, just across a little dockside. And I don't want to be in a position where we have temporary food trucks or temporary food wagons or whatever they are interfering with brick and mortar that are paying a lot of money in taxes, and their establishments, and somebody comes in and just rolls up on on public property and start selling stuff. So,
I mean, we did
Do we not allow this with a hot dog
hot dog
vendor
van.
last summer?
I think that looked pretty bad last year, sitting in the park and taking up space. And, you know, we have the, is it called the White Hen or Ridgedale? We have Ridgedale's across the street, and we have
Formerly White Hen.
and we have Dockside. So, you know, that's my feeling on that.
I actually agree with Mary Ellen. We have Andrea's Taqueria at 646 Humphrey Street.
Right.
They pay for a liquor license, they pay rent, I'm assuming they pay taxes, they pay meal, certainly, F&B as well. You know, they've been a member of our community for a long time, and to invite less expensive competition there, where they don't have to, where this new competitor would not have to pay that, I wouldn't be supportive of that.
I feel like, I mean, they have 3 locations listed. If they were talking about just the farmer's market, it would be one thing.
Yeah.
I'm
We
good
asked
with
them to-
farmers, I'm totally good with farmers market,
Right.
you know, it's
I-
limited time.
I have 2 questions. If the hawker has the farmer's market as the event space, they still apply for a space at the farmer's market, correct?
Through the,
Through the rec?
Through the rec,
Right.
and they pay
So
weekly.
I would
Right.
like to consider,
Then they don't even need this.
right, so why do they still need a hawker's permit? Because not all vendors at the,
You don't need a hawker's permit to be
For
at the
the-
farmer's
But they're
market.
requesting
got
to
it
go
right
elsewhere.
here.
yes,
Right.
correct. And so what,
But if we're only
sorry,
on
the
farmers,
second
then they
piece of
just-
what I was saying is, I think that maybe we should work on a policy for sale of products at the beach, if that's what we all want.
Right, right.
Because that's what is like offending David and Mary Ellen's senses, is the beach, because,
Well, it's specifically Fisherman's Beach, right? Because Eisman's has nothing across the street. So
Yeah.
what would they be competing with
right,
at Eisman's
what would
Beach,
that be?
right?
But
There's
they would be,
nothing
they
there.
would be
Problem there.
posted up at.
Well, you know, I
Right.
think, you know,
to me, that's an untapped market,
Right.
as a
And it's kind of a benefit to people that go to the beach, but at Eisman's, not Fisherman's, and not, you know,
So
because of the
community-
location.
communities with food trucks generally do identify locations and do an RFP. It's too late.
Right.
These started coming up, I think it was 3 meetings ago, or 2
Yeah.
meetings ago, that you first mentioned your concerns, Mary Ellen, but it's something we could certainly develop for this summer. It would be very difficult, to be completely frank.
Right.
But with
Right.
the idea that we identify 3, 4, or 5 locations in town, and we ask for a number of respondents to say, I would like to be at these 2, I'd like to be able to go
Right.
to all 5. You know, City of Boston, towns and cities across the Commonwealth do this.
Especially in a beach town, so it's, I mean, it makes sense to really, to have a more formal process and policy in place.
And like in
than just
Revere, they work with DCR,
Yeah.
but Revere handles
Right.
the process of who's
Recreation.
allowed to be
does.
in which locations.
Right.
So, I'm afraid to even say this.
I'm sorry, the only thing I want to say is that I want to do whatever Mary Ellen and David agree on. That's all I want to end on here. It's like.
End on a high note. All right, then I will reserve my commentary for my meeting with the town administrator this week, therefore we don't defer from the high note we have happening right now. All right, so why don't we just, we can ask him to modify or we can advise that we're not approving it as applied,
Tell them to apply for the farmer's market, how about that?
Yeah.
but we certainly will, we're very welcome
But
to
in the
have them in our
meantime-
town. It is not that, it is more the location.
To Nick's
like,
point,
for
I think
example,
we should have.
The ice cream truck doesn't get a hawker's
Right,
permit,
exactly.
does he?
No.
Yeah, they do.
They do?
Do they?
Well,
Okay.
I will,
I've never seen. that
I've
on
never
the
seen that
agenda.
individual, I've bought many an ice cream from him, and I've never seen him come before me here,
They
so
should have been doing it if they
They
haven't.
probably haven't.
it's the same guy every time.
I'm sure he charges as much
Anyways.
as the taco truck, so.
He can speed away.
Yeah, right.
way,
Yeah,
Drives off to Marblehead.
But just to that effect, I agree. I think if done properly,
yeah.
the
we
food
would-
trucks at Eisman's could
Yes.
Yeah.
could be
And
some.
Quite
Could be a
frankly,
value
there may
add.
be some sort of collaboration with the beach club, because they have their parking lot is not always full, and if we could identify a spot at the beach club
That's
to
a little
have them-
dicier, I think, but.
Well, I'm just saying, let's look into it, let's call
Well,
somebody, let's ask a question.
I'd also like to make sure that we have conversations with our local restaurateurs, just to see if they also want to put something out there, or
Well, it would be an RFP process. Once you identify the
Right.
location, anybody could answer the RFP. So
Right.
that would,
speak to
we
them
wouldn't
in
have to
advance.
go,
Anybody with a car?
yeah, and we could in advance say, this is what the town's
Thanks.
thinking about doing.
I don't sell anything.
If you have the ability to
My own meatballs.
propose a time frame
Okay.
that you want to participate. And
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be for the whole season either, right? It could be like,
3 months out of the year.
no, I mean, like, it could rotate. Isn't that also possible?
This could be a very big potential.
Yeah, I mean,
something,
the city of
Connors.
Boston rotates
Yeah, they do.
which
There you go.
locations you get on which days or which weeks. Like there's not one person that is in one place.
See
all
how
the
this can
Right.
benefit here, Nick
So
Connors?
that helps the
Asking
local
for that.
business because you don't have, well, I mean, they did
Right.
complain actually when we were,
Food
when we talked
truck.
about 350, that would be an issue, but,
Put
all
a
right.
premium on this.
We can think about this further, and please let Mr. Sanchez know it's not that we don't want to enjoy his food. Please come
Or
to
his
Farmers
t-shirts
Market.
or whatever else he's wanted to sell.
Okay. Is everybody okay then moving on to select board comment?
Mhm.
Who would like to start?
Doug?
I'll start. 'Cause I've been waiting for like a week to honor Mr. Grishman. Get comfortable, everybody. No, just kidding. So David's time in the select board, predated me by 3 years. So I encourage others to add in. But I think your 6 years here on the select board, David, have been momentous. There have been a number of things that have happened in this town that I know you have been very central to. And as have many, many other people, I'm sure you'd be the first one to give others credit. But the fact that we have a new elementary school here, I know that you were highly, highly involved in that effort, maybe part of your select board efforts, but more broadly than that. The fact that we have major open space acquisitions over the course of your tenure, I know you were very, very central to those efforts. The fact that we have veterans housing on its way. I know you were a cornerstone of ensuring that happened as faithfully as possible to the veterans' wishes. And I know another thing that you're very proud of is, I think, the work that happened in bringing the police fire out of civil service, and what that's enabled us to be able to do in terms of our recruitment efforts. There are probably a million other examples. I know that you are the one that brought the CPA to my attention. And it was only by virtue of the fact that you were doing so many other things that you were looking for some other chap to help bring it forward. So you deserve, I'm not really sure whether or not that would have happened were it not for you. And I think, while it's been extremely difficult at times, I think you have tried your best to ensure that we were all, what's the right way to say it, adhering to the rules. I know that that will be a somewhat provocative comment, but I don't mean it to just be provocative. I mean it to say that you were willing to enter the fire, and sometimes getting it right, sometimes maybe not, but you were willing to try to really see through to the truth. And I, highly respect you for that. But certainly most of all, I really, really appreciate the fact that you helped show me the ropes, and carried forth on a lot of efforts that truly helped transform this town literally for decades. The work that I've just rattled off here, as well as many other things, are going to help thousands and thousands and thousands of kids come through that elementary school, play at Archer and Hawthorne, and not to mention the hotel. It's just amazing to think of what your efforts are going to do for so many people here in town. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Doug.
I have other things to share for the broader group.
Do you want
So I'll do it now.
Yeah, please.
I am really grateful to all of you. It has been an incredible honor to serve with all of you. I think, going through some of those things that David, had played a huge role in, but, the fact that despite all of the hubbub that we've created along the way, there's been an enormous amount accomplished. I think that is the somewhat surprising thing for people that might spend their time, just having fun on social media, is that despite all this, incredible progress on the hotel, on veterans housing, on the CPA, just in the last 3 years even, the climate initiatives, the passing of the Climate Action Plan, all that we've done on specialized energy code. This board has been unanimous and moving forward all of those things in that regard, in supporting the Climate Action Committee. Veterans housing, I think, is just the beginning. I mean, we're putting basically almost $1 million a year away in the CPA, and you've just split that up in thirds. There's a lot of money there in the future for future affordable housing, historic preservation, more open space. It could go on and on about, all that we have, keeping the budget lid as tight as we possibly can while still respecting the services that the town deserves and needs. So I think that is, it's pretty wild to kind of have that frame of, everything that actually happens in a couple of years. So I really appreciate all of your friendship and colleagueship and pushback and everything that came along the way. And I extend that to people that are on committees. I think, Liz Smith gets the award for most attendance at select board meetings, which is really, incredible. Katie's trying to, catch up. But that's real dedication. And to so many other people that serve on so many committees, the town staff, Patrick, probably you amongst, above anybody, frankly, you've been at more of these meetings and provided us with incredibly sober, straightforward advice that's, just critical. So many other people in town that deserve so much credit. So I'll try to keep it not from going on and on and on, but just very grateful.
Thanks, Doug. David?
I'd like to go last if possible.
Sure, I wouldn't mind that. Danielle?
Okay, so in true Danielle fashion, I don't have anything prepared, but I always speak right from the heart or the horse's mouth, whatever you want to call it. Doug, I have such a not newfound appreciation for you, but way more appreciation for you now than I did possibly at the beginning of my term. Your ability to mediate and meet in the middle and find compromise has been a really welcome change on this board. And there is so much to your credit. It's a very long list that we would be here all night. And to say I valued your participation and ability to really kind of herd this group of cats on many occasions is saying very little. But so I thank you. I learned a lot from you. I really appreciated all your effort and all the good things you've done, and there are a lot of good things. David Grishman, when I first got on this board, you were probably as eager to see me sitting in this chair as, you know, you would be to get a really bad rash, right? I was probably the last person you'd want to have sitting next to you for 2 or 3 potential years. And you were nothing but gracious and welcoming to me when I came on. Much to my dismay, did not anticipate that. So kudos to you. And through the past 2 years of being here, we have gone toe-to-toe, nose-to-nose. I think I asked you to dance. I think I said, Grishman, you want to dance on this one day? And we fought, and yeah, and we disagreed on veterans, on former TA, on assessors, on you name it, right? And it is one of my biggest accomplishments that I can easily say, after fighting with you, I can still look at you and share candy with you and trade with you and see you on the street and say hi to you, and you do the same back to me. And there is a certain level of appreciation for that that is really second to none. So I appreciate always having that good relationship with you. And, you know, as much as we disagree, you've done a lot. You've done a lot of good and smart things, and you had a lot of very valuable lessons to teach me and everybody else on this board. And, you know, I was really, really glad to work alongside of you. And I really appreciated everything you did. But I really do say, from the bottom of my heart, to be able to look at somebody and argue and disagree, and then at the same time have the respect for them to be congenial and, you know, turn the page and know that it's not personal and it's really just a matter of disagreement, and we can still be friends and, you know, see each other around town, and there's, you know, no time lost. So thank you for that, and thank you for all that you've done. And I know I will attribute every beer garden to you and every act of fun social recreation in this town that didn't exist before you, to you. And I know a lot of people that are very grateful for that too. So, but that's the small stuff, right? But again, thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Mary Ellen?
I think it's all been said.
It's all been said? No, nothing from reports? You're always good for reports and committees.
My guys just left.
Oh, okay. Well, I will give David the request to go last. I think it's fitting you gentlemen are going out together. You've spent a good part of my tenure on the board trying to communicate with each other and be unified and execute on that unification, and that is really quite important to how this board understood things and moved forward and got to the other side of things. You know, I agree with Danielle. We didn't always agree, but there is something to be said for showing up through the good and the bad, and showing up in the way that you both show passion, although it's different, is equally important. Doug, you have mediated through some of the most complicated situations that the board has been in recent years, and I thank you for being a sounding board for me to try to get through some of those situations, because it's not been easy, and you've always picked up my call. I appreciate it. And David, my calls to you have not always been pleasant. I have criticized, I have asked, you know, for you to give grace and take the high road, and you always tried. And I think that is all I could ask, and that is all I continue to ask of you, and you always continue to try to give that to me. And for that, I am very grateful and appreciative. On top of all of your other accomplishments, we had the relationship factor, you know, like that's the elephant in the room that we're all tiptoeing around. And despite that, we still got so much accomplished. It almost makes me annoyed, because if we didn't, how much more could we have? But that's a conversation for another day. And I just want to say thank you to you both for your service to the town. And thank you to your families for their sacrifice for the service to the town, because I will be the first to acknowledge that is the biggest piece of this, is the amount of time and energy you both gave, because you wouldn't have run if you weren't going to. is a toll on your families, and it is 100% a sacrifice you make for this community that goes pretty much unnoticed in a normal situation from a normal town member. But as a sitting board member with you, I acknowledge and appreciate that, and I hope your family is listening and watching too, to know that I acknowledge and appreciate them for that. Thank you both very much.
If my kids are still watching at 10:04, I'm going to be pretty upset.
Watch
because
tomorrow.
bedtime was 9:30. So many people I want to thank, but I want to start with the voters. They elected me twice. Thank you. Thank you for your trust in me to bring a commitment to community, to Swampscott. As Danielle mentioned, in 2019, I got involved with the town heavily, bringing, beer gardens to town, something that hadn't been done before. Really wasn't given any guardrails or really anything, and it was just, thrown into the deep end, figured out, and we did. And as a result, we have a much better town as a result. Not without some hiccups and some things that we can improve on, but it really was something that really brought a lot of joy to our residents. And really time flies over these last 6 years, when you're getting things accomplished. And it was a pleasure to serve on behalf of all 15,000 residents of Swampscott. And next, I want to thank town staff. Thank you for working with us and on behalf of the board to make Swampscott a great place to live, work, and play. We have such a dedicated group of women and men working for the town, and just know that I appreciate all of your efforts and energies and hard work each and every day. And even if you don't hear from me or you don't hear from the board on a daily basis, please know your work matters and is very much appreciated. And I didn't have the chance to thank many of my former colleagues. I happen to miss these last meetings because my wife has me traveling all over the continental United States and the world at times. But I certainly want to thank the former colleagues that I served with: Neil Duffy, Peter Spelios, Polly Titcomb, and the junior senator from Arizona, Don Haas. I miss you, buddy. I miss you, Don. Also want to thank my current colleagues. We've had some difficult meetings. Last week was tough. Last couple of years have been we've been difficult. We've done difficult things. We've had difficult conversations. We haven't agreed. But it's my hope now that with our new town administrator, the support of the board, the chaos of the last few years has been reined in, and that we can get on with the business of the town. So thank you to each and every one of you. And then last, but certainly not least, I want to leave you with just the thought about change that needs to be made, my opinion, just regarding town council, especially real estate matters. Town council, in my opinion, is insufficient and should be replaced. And while we may not directly save money in legal services, we can avoid a number of outcomes which may be negative, which include but are not limited to the comma gate from the Veterans Project. We can avoid the need to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars as a result of a UU settlement, which may have been mishandled. And we can avoid the need to seek town meeting approval multiple times for Archer Street land acquisitions because information provided in the warrant was incorrect, just to name a few. Town council does some things very well, but real estate, in my view, it does not. And what do you know? We have much in the way of real estate happening today. And as such, it's my opinion, my strong opinion, my professional opinion, that we need change, and we likely needed it yesterday. But today is our last meeting. Just a big thank you to Doug. Doug, I will always remember your proficiency with markers, color-coded, your organizational skills, your ability to mediate, and just your willingness to be the great compromiser, the Henry Clay of modern day. you know? So I do think, I think those skills came in handy. And certainly, you know, the CPA is a legacy that you leave us. And, you know, thank you. And, you know, I do believe that we're going to see some incredible things as a result of those efforts over the next decades to come. One of the things that I would like to see, you know, Mary Ellen had the, you know, had all the Eagle Scouts posted on the board and posted. I would like to see the names of everyone who served on the select board within the town of Swampscott to be posted somewhere in town hall. I think that would be a great tribute and honor, and something where, you know, Doug can come back and shuffle in 20 or 30 years and see his name. And all of us and future generations and previous select board members can come and see their name and point and say, hey, this is what I spent 3 years, 6 years, 9 years, in some instances, decades, serving the town. I think that would be, you know, a small token for past and future select board members. And just a reminder, good luck to everybody running in the election tomorrow. And I encourage everybody to please make your plan to vote. Polls open at 7 a.m. and stay open till 8 p.m. Everything at Swampscott High School. Thank you.
Thank you, David. So, if there's nothing further, entertain a motion to adjourn.
Could I just add one thing?
No, you can't, Nick.
Really quick.
Of course you may.
I think it was actually Mary Ellen and Diane. Your names are already hanging in the old select board meeting room. They're all up. It was one of the first things I did. They had been waiting in Diane's office to get up, and we had it put up in the first couple of weeks. We do need to update your name cards, but for that exact reason, we put it down in that room, because that had been prior to meeting here where you all were doing the work on a weekly basis. So it's a recognition that we completely agree with from the town staff side, and it's there for you to shuffle in whenever you'd like.
Awesome. Yeah, I just haven't been in that
Yeah,
room in
I know.
ever.
So I wanted everyone to know it was there, because we got it up right away, but I don't think we had talked about it, other than letting
I
you
think
know
it
that we
was
got it
Peter
up.
Spelios' request. Peter did not want a
He wanted a
chair.
chair,
I think
yes,
I think that was
that's right.
Peter's
That's correct.
Peter's thing.
Okay.
All right, so now I will entertain a motion from one of our outgoing colleagues to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, thank you.